Chapter 1035. Seeing that Deng Xing insisted on personally dealing with Emo Qingyun, the youths pondered for a moment before retreating one after another. They knew in their hearts that from the strength that Emo Qingyun had just displayed, he was indeed not someone that they could deal with. Deng Liang was too weak just now and was unable to test the true power of the upper devouring spirit finger. Now that you're here, you should be able to test the true power of the upper devouring spirit finger. Seeing Deng Xing walk over, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly. His expression was still calm and indifferent. When he attacked Deng Liang just now, the upper devouring spirit finger did not even display a tenth of its power before Deng Liang was forcefully defeated. Such an outcome made Emo Qingyun extremely disappointed. This was not the situation that he wanted to see. Kid, you're too arrogant. The gap between the half-reverend stage and the divine ability stage is huge. Hearing Emo Qingyun's confident words, Deng Xing's expression darkened as he coldly snorted. He angrily glared at Emo Qingyun and said, "Kid, are you going to just sit there and do nothing when you fight with me?" Deng Xing believed that even Deng Ronghua would not dare to be as arrogant as Emo Qingyun when he fought with him. "If you're unhappy, you can kick me off the stone bench." In response to Deng Xing's unhappy words, Emo Qingyun nonchalantly shrugged his shoulders, as if he was telling Deng Xing to do as he saw fit. From Emo Qingyun's point of view, although Deng Xing was strong, he was still unable to pose a threat to him. "Arrogant kid, you're courting death." Seeing Emo Qingyun's attitude, Deng Xing was instantly enraged. He raised his hand and summoned a white bone jade staff. After Deng Xing took out the white bone jade staff, it emitted a dim luster, and a gloomy and obscure aura emerged. Not only that, after the white bone jade staff left Deng Xing's hand, it split into 7 parts and surrounded Emo Qingyun in the middle. 7 ghosts seize spirit. After the white bone jade staff covered Emo Qingyun, Deng Xing controlled the white bone jade staff and attacked Emo Qingyun. Under Deng Xing's control, the white bone jade staff sent out a series of ghostly shadows, which rushed madly towards Emo Qingyun to tear him apart. As these ghostly shadows tore at him, Emo Qingyun felt as if his soul was being stripped away bit by bit. A magic treasure that devours souls? Seeing the power of the white bone jade staff, Emo Qingyun's expression was slightly surprised. In his heart, he was even more curious about the magic weapon. He didn't expect that a magic treasure would have so many abilities. After a brief moment of surprise, the corners of Emo Qingyun's mouth curled up slightly. He smiled faintly and said, "Old man, you think too highly of yourself if you want to strip my soul with an attack of this level." Demonic soul-stealing eyes. A purple light flashed in Emo Qingyun's eyes, forming a bottomless whirlpool. A shocking tearing force exploded. Under this tearing force, these ghostly shadows immediately trembled. Thin and weak souls were forcefully extracted from them. Puff! As the souls of these ghostly shadows were extracted, Deng Xing's face turned pale and he spat out blood. The souls in these ghostly shadows were split by him. They were connected to him by heart. How could they be extracted so forcefully? Then Deng Xing's eyes widened. His face was filled with disbelief. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said in shock, "Little boy, what kind of sorcery did you use just now?" "Sorcery?" Hearing Deng Xing's fearful words, Emo Qingyun's expression was slightly stunned. He smiled faintly and said, "Old man, I'll give you a choice now. Submit to me or die. Submit to you or die." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Deng Xing and the others were first stunned. Then they all gnashed their teeth. Too arrogant! The boy in front of them was too arrogant. "Boy, the clansmen of my Ghost Fetus clan are not cowards. You want us to submit? No way." Hearing Emo Qingyun's contemptuous words, Deng Xing was so angry that his body trembled. He said that he was unafraid of death. Myriad ghosts reach the heavens, ghost ancestor possession. After Deng Xing said those words, he took out a tattered picture scroll and knelt down in front of it. Under Deng Xing's worship, a ball of black light was emitted from the picture scroll. It automatically floated above Deng Xing's head. Following that, the black light from the scroll enveloped Deng Xing and poured into his body, as if he had been enlightened. As the black light poured into Deng Xing's body, the aura emitted from Deng Xing's body skyrocketed. In the blink of an eye, the aura emitted from Deng Xing's body was no different from that of a Supreme Being. Supreme Being realm? Seeing Deng Xing's performance, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. His eyes were filled with surprise. After a brief moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and decisively attacked Deng Xing. He clearly knew that once Deng Xing's cultivation broke through to the Supreme Being realm, it would be troublesome for him to deal with him. More importantly, there was another Supreme Being realm expert in the Ghost Tomb sect, Deng Ronghua. If the two of them joined forces with Mo Qingyun's current strength, he would only be able to escape with his tail between his legs. This wasn't what Mo Qingyun wanted to see. Therefore, Mo Qingyun couldn't let them join forces. He had to defeat Deng Xing before Deng Ronghua arrived. Sealed Gate. Under Mo Qingyun's attack, a miniature version of the Door of Light rapidly condensed and instantly blasted into Deng Xing's body. As the sealed gate blasted into Deng Xing's body, the aura emitted from Deng Xing's body gradually weakened. In a short while, the aura emitted from Deng Xing's body returned to the level of a half-supreme being. Seeing this scene, Deng Xing and the others were shocked. Their hearts were filled with confusion. How could this be? Did Gui Zhu's possession fail? Upper devouring spirit finger. At this moment, while Deng Xing and the others were shocked and confused, Mo Qingyun pointed his finger at Deng Xing without hesitation. He wouldn't give Deng Xing a chance to catch his breath. Since he had already attacked, Mo Qingyun wanted to kill Deng Xing with a single blow and make him lose his ability to fight. An enormous origin energy index finger condensed on Mo Qingyun's index finger and blasted towards Deng Xing with extreme speed. Facing Mo Qingyun's attack, Deng Xing didn't dare to be careless. He immediately blocked the upper devouring spirit finger. However, he underestimated the power of the upper devouring spirit finger and didn't manage to defeat it with a single blow. Under Deng Xing's attack, the power of the upper devouring spirit finger increased. Seeing this scene, Deng Xing's heart trembled. He realized how terrifying the upper devouring spirit finger was. Bang! However, before he could attack again, the upper devouring spirit finger hit them and sent them flying. Puff! After being hit by the upper devouring spirit finger, Deng Xing and the others turned pale and spat out blood. However, Deng Liang, who was in a coma, regained his senses at this moment. Old ancestor is injured. Even old ancestor can't help? Chapter 1036. Looking at the heavily injured Deng Xing and the others, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of the might of the devouring spirit finger. With the current might of the devouring spirit finger, it wouldn't be a problem to heavily injure a half-venerable expert. However, it was still lacking when it came to dealing with a venerable expert. Knowing the might of the devouring spirit finger, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He walked up to Deng Xing and the others and said coldly, "I'll ask you one more time. Will you submit to me or die?" As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, his body emitted a murderous aura that crushed towards Deng Xing and the others. Under the shroud of this killing intent, the expressions of Deng Xing and the others trembled, and intense fear appeared on their faces. They were certain that if they dared to refuse to submit to Mo Qingyun would kill them without hesitation. For a moment, Deng Xing and the others fell silent, causing the entire backyard to become incomparably quiet. At this moment, when Deng Xing and the others were in a dilemma, three figures flashed and stopped in front of Deng Xing and the others. These three figures were none other than the sect master of the Ghost Mound sect, Deng Ronghua, Supreme Elder Pang Dian, and Vice Sect Master Wu Ilian. After Deng Ronghua and the others arrived, they swept their gazes across the backyard, revealing a cold expression as they shouted angrily, "Who dares to cause trouble in my Ghost Mound sect? Why don't you show yourself?" "Sect Master, Elder Pang, Vice Sect Master Wu, it's great that you're here." Seeing the arrival of Deng Ronghua and the others, Deng Xing and the others were pleasantly surprised, as if they had met their saviors. Hearing the words of Deng Xing and the others, Deng Ronghua and the others' expressions changed, and they all turned to look at Deng Xing and the others. With a single glance, Deng Ronghua and the others were shocked. They were greatly shocked by the appearance of Deng Xing and the others. Deng Xing and the others were injured, and their injuries weren't light. They wouldn't be able to fight for a short period of time. After seeing Deng Xing's injuries, Deng Ronghua hurriedly walked up to Deng Xing and helped him up, asking, "Ancestor, who injured you? Could it be Huang Xian and Huang Guan?" In Deng Ronghua's opinion, in the current mysterious Yin mountain range, the only people who could seriously injure Deng Xing, besides him and Ghost King Hall Master Fanjia, were mysterious Yin sects Sovereign Huang Guan and Ancestor Huang Xian. Ghost King Palace and the Ghost Mound sect were on the same tree sect. As the sect master of the Ghost King Palace, Fanjia wouldn't have injured Deng Xing. In this way, it was obvious who had injured Deng Xing. It was either the sect master of the Profound Yin sect, Huang Guan, or the ancestor of the Profound Yin sect, Huang Xian. As well as Deng Ronghua and the others, Xian and the others, of the ghost of the mysterious Devil Mound. Xian and the others. In their opinion, with Mo Qingyun's cultivation at the 8th level of the Divine Ability Realm, it was impossible for him to heavily injure Deng Xing. Huang cough 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 cough. Hearing Deng Ronghua's question, Deng Xing shook his head and coughed a few times. He raised his hand and pointed at Mo Qingyun. It's this kid who injured us." Him? Following Deng Xing's finger, Deng Ronghua and the others saw Mo Qingyun in front of them. They were all shocked and couldn't believe it. They had thought of many possibilities, but they never thought that the one who injured Deng Xing would be this young man. 9 essences as one. While Deng Ronghua and the others were still in shock, Mo Qingyun didn't waste time talking nonsense with them. He directly waved the scorching flame halberd and swept it towards Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan. Mo Qingyun thought to himself, Wu Ilyan and Pang Dian's strength was similar to Deng Xing's, so he had to cripple them before they were prepared. Otherwise, if the two of them went all out, it would be very troublesome to deal with them since they were both supremes. In addition to the supreme being Deng Ronghua, there were 3 supreme being experts. This wasn't something that Mo Qingyun could deal with. Therefore, Mo Qingyun had to make the first move to gain the upper hand. First, he had to get rid of Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan. Grand Elder Pang Dian, be careful. Vice Sect Master Wu Ilyan, be careful. Seeing Mo Qingyun attack Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan, the expressions of the surrounding people changed drastically. They hurriedly warned Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan. However, what made them feel helpless was that Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan didn't listen to their warnings. Perhaps they thought that no matter how strong a brat at the 8th level of the Divine Power Realm was, it was impossible for him to be that strong. Everyone, don't worry. It's just a brat at the 8th level of the Divine Power Realm. Watch this old man capture him. Brat, you've got guts. You actually dared to sneak attack the two of us. Seeing Mo Qingyun attack the two of them, Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan showed disdain and said contemptuously. After speaking, Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan casually waved their hands. They didn't put Mo Qingyun's attack in their eyes at all. When Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan attacked, the 9-colored halberd light was already in front of them. So fast. Seeing the 9-colored halberd light arrive in an instant, Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan's expressions changed drastically. Only then did they realize Mo Qingyun's strength. Following that, the two of them put away their contempt and wanted to block the 9-colored halberd light again. However, the 9-colored sword light was too fast. Before the two of them could attack again, it overbearingly slammed into their bodies. Puff! 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 2 consecutive slashing sounds rang out. Pang Dian and Wu Ilian's clothes were instantly cut open, and a hideous wound appeared on their chest. At the same time, Pang Dian and Wu Ilian were also sent flying. They fell to the ground with heavy injuries and lost the ability to fight. In one move, 2 half-step experts were instantly crippled. Seeing this scene, everyone was instantly stunned on the spot. They couldn't believe that this was real. Emo Qingyun's strength was so terrifying. Crippling half-step experts was as easy as torturing dogs. Who are you? Why did you come to my ghost tomb sect to cause trouble? Seeing Emo Qingyun's combat power, Deng Ronghua's expression became dignified, and he questioned Emo Qingyun indifferently. If he hadn't seen Emo Qingyun's attack with his own eyes, he really couldn't believe that a person in the 8th hurdle of the magical power could be so powerful. For Deng Ronghua's questioning, Emo Qingyun did not answer, but smiled faintly. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I give you a choice now. Either surrender to me or die. Shameless boasting. You are not qualified to say this to me. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Deng Ronghua snorted coldly and said with a gloomy expression, "Even if you don't say it, I can guess who you are. Recently, I have heard that there is a figure in the Xian Yin sect. You should be Fang Yuan of the Xian Yin sect, right?" Fang Yuan? Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Emo Qingyun's expression was slightly stunned. Then, he shook his head with a faint smile and said, "I am not Fang Yuan of the Xian Yin sect, but it won't be long before Fang Yuan becomes a ghost under my sword. Since you don't want to surrender, I will beat you until you surrender." Chapter 1037. Ground Shrink. Emo Qingyun took a step forward and his figure disappeared in a flash. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Deng Ronghua. Heavenly flame sky splitting battle. Arriving in front of Deng Ronghua, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate to swing his halberd and sweep it towards Deng Ronghua's chest. Under Emo Qingyun's swing, the blazing halberd immediately blossomed with a dazzling 9-colored radiance and emitted an astonishing aura. Once the 9-colored radiance appeared, it transformed into a 9-colored halberd radiance and blasted towards Deng Ronghua like a dragon emerging from its cave. Wu Gui's dark blood flag. Looking at the rapidly approaching 9-colored halberd radiance, Deng Ronghua did not dare to hesitate and immediately took out a small purplish-black flag. After the small purplish-black flag was taken out, a cloud of blood mist emerged from it and transformed into a purplish-black air shield. Bang! When the purplish-black air shield was formed, the 9-colored halberd radiance collided with it and produced a loud bang. At the same time this sound was produced, a shocking wave of elemental energy exploded from the purplish-black air shield. Under the impact of the Yuan power wave, the surrounding space trembled, as if it could not withstand the impact of the Yuan power wave, and was about to collapse. Bang! Another loud bang sounded out as the purplish-black air shield and the 9-colored halberd radiance exploded at the same time. Seeing that the 9-colored halberd radiance was blocked by Deng Ronghua, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate at all. His figure moved and charged towards Deng Ronghua again. In the face of Emo Qingyun's overbearing attack, Deng Ronghua had no choice but to hastily defend against Emo Qingyun's halberd radiance. Then, the crowd saw Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua's figures constantly flickering in midair as they blasted out streaks of halberd radiance and fist shadows. After seeing this scene, everyone revealed shocked expressions. They were greatly shocked by Emo Qingyun's strength. Sect leader did not even have the slightest chance to counterattack under that kid's attack? Where did this kid come from? How can his strength be so terrifying? Hiss. Sect master even activated the Wu Gui dark blood flag to barely block that brat's attack. His strength is just too terrifying. Not only is this brat powerful, his movement speed is also very fast. It seems that he is even faster than the sect leader. Sect master is an expert of the supreme realm. How can the speed of someone at the 8th level of the transcendent realm surpass him? When they saw the battle between Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua, Deng Xing and the others opened their eyes wide. They didn't dare believe this scene was real. Under Emo Qingyun's tyrannical attacks, Deng Ronghua actually didn't have a chance to counterattack. He was continuously suppressed by Emo Qingyun. This scene was too inconceivable. Bang! Another enormous bang that shook the heavens resounded out as an origin energy tempest that seemed capable of obliterating the heavens, and the earth was created, and it forcefully separated Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua, who were fighting each other. After a while, the origin energy tempest dissipated. Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua confronted each other in the air, exuding a momentum that clashed in mid-air. I didn't expect that in the Tianhun continent, in addition to Fang Yuan of the Xianyin sect, there is such a talent like you. Seeing Emo Qingyun's amazing combat power, Deng Ronghua showed an expression of admiration and said with emotion, "Kid, with your combat power and talent, you should not be a nobody in the Tianhun continent, right? There are not many people who know my name at present, but soon, my name will be famous in the Tianhun continent." For Deng Ronghua's words, Emo Qingyun responded with a faint smile. Then, his expression became serious. "Let's finish the chit-chat. It's time to continue the unfinished battle." Okay. Hearing Emo Qingyun's suggestion, Deng Ronghua nodded in agreement and said with a solemn expression, "If you can defeat me, the Ghost Mound sect will surrender to you." After fighting with Emo Qingyun just now, Deng Ronghua had already made a decision in his heart. If Emo Qingyun could defeat him, he would be qualified to make the Ghost Mound sect surrender. Sect Master, hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Deng Xing and others all looked nervous and wanted to persuade Deng Ronghua. However, before they could speak, they were interrupted by Deng Ronghua. After interrupting Deng Xing and others, Deng Ronghua said with a serious face, "Old Ancestor, Deputy Head, Elders, a person with the cultivation of the 8th level of the magical power can have the combat power comparable to the superior of the Supreme Realm. Such a person is qualified to make the Ghost Mound sect surrender." Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Deng Xing and others were silent and did not know how to refute Deng Ronghua's words. Deng Ronghua's words were true. With the potential that Emo Qingyun now showed, his future achievements were indeed immeasurable. At present, when Deng Xing and others were meditating, Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua fought again, causing a terrible aftermath of the battle. Under the impact of the aftermath of the battle, the backyard was instantly turned upside down, turning into a wasteland. As the backyard was destroyed by the aftermath of the battle between Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua, the battle between Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua fell into the eyes of the people in the front yard. Looking at Emo Qingyun, who was fighting with Deng Ronghua in mid-air, the disciples of the Ghost Mound sect were shocked and stunned by the scene in front of them. Who is that? He can actually fight evenly with the sect master. That person only has the cultivation of the 8th level of the magical power, but he can actually fight with the superior of the Supreme Realm. What kind of combat power is this? Is this person Fang Yuan of the Yinxian sect? However, Fang Yuan is only rumored to be able to fight with the superior of the half-venerable. He can't fight with the superior of the Supreme Realm, right? At this moment, everyone had great curiosity about the identity of Emo Qingyun. When everyone was shocked by the strength of Emo Qingyun, Di Jiang and Xiang Ku saw Emo Qingyun in midair and were instantly stunned. Young Lord, can actually fight with the sect master without being defeated? It's not that he can't be defeated, but the young lord is suppressing the sect master. Although Di Jiang and Xiang Ku knew that Emo Qingyun's strength was very strong, they didn't expect that Emo Qingyun could fight with Deng Ronghua without being defeated. Inaction Sky-Concealing Finger, Zhongtong Killing Finger, Upper Devouring Spirit Finger. Under the gaze of everyone, Emo Qingyun blasted 3 fingers to Deng Ronghua in succession, and each finger was more domineering than the previous one. Wuguei Dark Blood Flag. Facing the power of Emo Qingyun's 3 fingers, Deng Ronghua didn't dare to be careless and once again urged the Wuguei Dark Blood Flag to resist. Under his urging, the Wuguei Dark Blood Flag immediately burst out an amazing mist, which turned into a purple-black air shield. However, after the Wuguei Dark Blood Flag blocked the inaction sky-concealing finger, it completely lost its effect. Zhongtong Killing Finger had the power to hit a cow across a mountain. Under the resistance of the purple-black air shield, its full power was stimulated instead. As for the upper devouring spirit finger, the Wuguei Dark Blood Flag blocked the inaction sky-concealing finger and generated an amazing wave of primordial energy, which also boosted its power. Subsequently, Deng Ronghua was hit by 2 fingers in succession and directly blasted out. Puff! Even with Deng Ronghua's cultivation of the Supreme Realm, after being hit by 2 fingers in succession, he was seriously injured and spat out blood. Chapter 1038. With the previous shocking experience, Deng Liang's mental endurance had clearly increased by a lot. He was no longer frightened by the scene before him. After calming down the shock in his heart, Deng Liang looked around. When he saw the heavily injured Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan, his expression immediately revealed intense shock. Wu Ilyan and Pang Dian were also heavily injured. Could it also be caused by Emo Qingyun? If that was the case, didn't that mean that even if the 4 top powerhouses of the Ghost Tomb sect joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for Emo Qingyun? After coming to this conclusion, Deng Liang's eyes widened. His face revealed an expression of disbelief as he exclaimed, How is this possible? How can a brat at the 8th level of the divine ability realm possess such abnormal strength? Emo Qingyun's performance had completely exceeded Deng Liang's understanding. It had shattered the view of strength that he had always held in his heart. At this moment, while Deng Liang was still in shock, Deng Ronghua slowly stood up and raised his hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. You're very strong. In terms of attack power, you're already comparable to a mid-stage Supreme Being powerhouse. After exchanging blows with Emo Qingyun, Deng Ronghua couldn't help but admire Emo Qingyun's astonishing battle strength. He sighed and said, however, the true strength of a Supreme Being powerhouse isn't the strength of their Yuan power. More importantly, it's the use of law energy and domain. Therefore, it won't be easy for you to defeat me. Whether I can or can't, we'll know in a battle. Emo Qingyun didn't pay too much attention to Deng Ronghua's words and replied with a faint smile. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Deng Ronghua didn't waste any more words. He turned to Pang Dian and the others and said, Vice Sect Master, Supreme Elder, immediately lead everyone out of here. Yes. Hearing Deng Ronghua's instructions, Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan quickly nodded and waved their hands to everyone. We'll leave the backyard immediately. Very quickly, Pang Dian and Wu Ilyan led everyone away from the rear courtyard of Di Jiang and Di Yan's residence. When he saw Pang Dian and the others leave, Deng Ronghua didn't hesitate any longer, and he raised his hand and waved in front of him. With a wave of Deng Ronghua's hand, balls of black flames suddenly appeared in the small courtyard. In the blink of an eye, the entire small courtyard was filled. Fire domain. As these flames filled up the small courtyard, they isolated the small courtyard, forming an independent space of flames. This was the domain of a Supreme Realm expert, a domain that had been fused with the power of laws. It wasn't something that Deng Liang's Arachne domain could compare to. As soon as the fire domain was formed, Emo Qingyun, who was enveloped by it, immediately felt a burning sensation. Domain Gate. Emo Qingyun did not dare to hold back in the face of the law of fire's burning. He immediately used his domain gate. Then, the area within 10 meters of Emo Qingyun became a vacuum, blocking the surrounding flames. Domain. Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, Deng Ronghua was immediately shocked, his eyes filled with disbelief. He was certain that the domain that Emo Qingyun was activating now was not something that Deng Liang's Arachne domain could compare to. Although Emo Qingyun's domain did not fuse with any power of laws, it was more stable than his own domain. This discovery really shocked Deng Ronghua quite a bit. A domain was the symbol of a supreme realm expert. Emo Qingyun was only at the 8th level of the divine ability realm, but he was already able to control a domain. Moreover, Emo Qingyun's domain was even more perfect and stable. This was simply too shocking. This was simply breaking the iron law of the martial Tao. Deng Ronghua was a supreme realm expert after all. After a brief moment of shock, he regained his composure and said in a deep voice, "You are indeed different from others. In that case, you are qualified for me to fight with my full strength." As soon as Deng Ronghua finished speaking, his figure moved, and he threw a punch at Emo Qingyun. Under Deng Ronghua's casual punch, the origin energy and power of laws in the fire domain were easily mobilized. Following that, the power of laws and origin energy formed a flaming fist that crushed towards Emo Qingyun. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. Facing Deng Ronghua's punch, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate at all. He hurriedly waved the blazing halberd in his hand. Under Emo Qingyun's wave, the blazing halberd immediately erupted with 9-colored light, turning into a 9-colored halberd light that met the flaming fist head-on. Bang! With a loud bang, the 9-colored halberd light and the flaming fist collided. Flames shot out in all directions like fireworks. However, the power of laws was obviously stronger than the power of origin energy. It was not something that the power of origin energy could compare to. After the 9-colored halberd light and the flaming fist collided, they immediately collapsed and slowly dissipated between heaven and earth. At this moment, the 9-colored halberd light was like a cloud of smoke that was blown away by a strong wind. Seeing that the 9-colored halberd light was unable to block the flaming fist, Emo Qingyun hurriedly waved his halberd a few more times to block the flaming fist. After forcing Emo Qingyun into a difficult situation with one punch, Deng Ronghua did not rush to attack again. Instead, he smiled faintly at Emo Qingyun and said, "Little brother, your strength is not bad. I am a person who appreciates talents. If you are willing to submit to the Ghost Mound sect, I can recommend you as the vice leader of the Ghost Mound sect." Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, the surrounding members of the Ghost Mound sect revealed shocked expressions. They really did not expect that Deng Ronghua would actually give Emo Qingyun the position of vice sect master. From this, it seemed that Deng Ronghua really had the intention of recruiting Emo Qingyun. However, when they thought of Emo Qingyun's great talent and strength, they felt relieved. With the strength and potential that Emo Qingyun had shown, he was fully deserving of the position of vice leader of the Ghost Mound sect. The gap between the power of law and the power of origin is really big. Seeing the powerful power of the flaming fist, Emo Qingyun secretly sighed in his heart. He looked at Deng Ronghua and smiled faintly. "The battle is not over yet. Are you so sure that you can defeat me? If that's the case, I will beat you until you are convinced." Seeing that Emo Qingyun was unwilling to submit, Deng Ronghua was not surprised. He smiled faintly and attacked Emo Qingyun again. Suddenly, a violent power of the law of fire gathered on Deng Ronghua's fists and turned into a flaming fist and a flaming palm with amazing momentum. They blasted fiercely toward Emo Qingyun. Under Deng Ronghua's overbearing attack, Emo Qingyun immediately fell into a dangerous situation. Under Deng Ronghua's attack, he was surrounded by danger. However, although Emo Qingyun was in a perilous situation under Deng Ronghua's attack, he did not lose his composure. This is the time. After exchanging more than 100 blows with Deng Ronghua, Emo Qingyun's eyes sharpened as he found an opportunity to fight back. Sealed door. Having found an opportunity to fight back, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate and used sealed door without hesitation. Chapter 1039. Poof. Deng Ronghua's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood after being hit by the sealed door. Following that, Deng Ronghua's aura began to weaken rapidly. Not long after, Deng Ronghua's cultivation fell from the sovereign realm to the limit of the half-sovereign realm. My cultivation, even with Deng Ronghua's mental fortitude, he was quite shocked when he saw his cultivation drop. He looked at Emo Qingyun in shock and said, "Why, you actually know how to seal the cultivation of others? Why, are you afraid?" Emo Qingyun asked with a faint smile when he saw Deng Ronghua's reaction. However, he did not let down his guard because of this. Just as Deng Ronghua had said, the true strength of a sovereign realm powerhouse was not the strength of their yuan qi, but their control of the power of laws and domains. Although the sealed door had sealed Deng Ronghua's cultivation, it could not suppress his use of the power of laws and domains. Therefore, although Deng Ronghua's cultivation had fallen, it did not affect his strength much. However, it was good for Emo Qingyun to be able to suppress Deng Ronghua's strength a little. Every detail was crucial in a fight between experts. With Deng Ronghua's strength weakened, the pressure on Emo Qingyun would be reduced. As Deng Ronghua's cultivation was suppressed, the pressure on Emo Qingyun was significantly reduced in the following fight. Emo Qingyun, who had been taking a beating, now had the ability to fight back. This made Deng Ronghua a lot more cautious when making a move. However, this was not the result that Emo Qingyun wanted. He had to subdue the Ghost Tomb sect today. Otherwise, once Deng Ronghua and the others were on guard, it would be difficult for him to subdue the Ghost Tomb sect. The mysterious Yin sect was stronger than the Ghost Tomb sect. Without the Ghost Tomb sect's help, it would be difficult for him to rescue Qin Yongjun from the mysterious Yin sect. No, this can't go on. I have to think of a way to resist the power of laws. After blocking Deng Ronghua's attack once again, Emo Qingyun's brows furrowed tightly as he thought of a countermeasure. After thinking for a while, Emo Qingyun's eyes suddenly lit up as an idea rose in his mind. He said in surprise, "In my previous life, I also comprehended the law of fire. Perhaps I can use Deng Ronghua's law of fire to comprehend the law of fire again." After thinking about it, Emo Qingyun felt that the idea was feasible and decided to comprehend the law of fire immediately. Devouring Gate. However, Emo Qingyun did not try to comprehend it in a rigid manner. Instead, he used the Devouring Gate. The gate could absorb all of the energy's energy and convert it into its source energy, making it easier for Emo Qingyun to refine and comprehend it. Now that he had the help of the Devouring Gate, Emo Qingyun naturally wouldn't abandon it and rely on his own strength to comprehend it. It was a thankless task. After Emo Qingyun used the Gate of Fire, it condensed above Emo Qingyun and emitted a terrifying devouring power. Under the absorption of the Gate of Fire, more than half of the law of fire that Deng Ronghua released was immediately absorbed by the Gate of Fire. Then, a pure law of fire was channeled into Emo Qingyun's body by the Gate of Fire. Seeing this, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate and comprehended the law of fire that was channeled into his body. The law of fire? Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, Deng Ronghua was shocked again. He found it hard to believe. However, before he could recover from the shock in his heart, an even more shocking scene appeared before his eyes. He suddenly felt that Emo Qingyun's body in front of him was exuding a slight fluctuation of the law of fire. The law of fire? With this discovery, Deng Ronghua was shocked. He stared at Emo Qingyun with wide eyes and exclaimed, Is this kid comprehending the law of fire?" The thought flashed through Deng Ronghua's head, but he rejected it without any hesitation. He shook his head and said, "How can a kid at the 8th level of the divine ability realm comprehend the law of fire? It looks like I've become overly suspicious because of this kid's strange method." After Deng Ronghua muttered to himself, he stopped thinking about it and attacked Emo Qingyun again. Afterwards, Emo Qingyun comprehended the law of fire as he blocked Deng Ronghua's attack. As he constantly fought with Deng Ronghua and observed Deng Ronghua's usage of the law of fire, Emo Qingyun's understanding of the law of fire gradually deepened and became more thorough. Combined with the experience and memories from his past life, Emo Qingyun's understanding and grasp of the law of fire immediately reached an extremely high level. Afterwards, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He attempted to use the law of fire to fuse it into his attack. Once failure, twice failure, thrice still failure. However, Emo Qingyun did not give up just like that. He continued to try tirelessly. Although he failed every time, Emo Qingyun's usage and grasp of the law of fire was subtly improving. Not only that, but every time Emo Qingyun failed, he would observe Deng Ronghua's attacks and correct and perfect his usage. Heaven Fire Sky-Breaking Halberd. After an unknown period of time, Emo Qingyun swung his halberd. The originally illusory Dragon Shadow halberd light became almost solid. This meant that Emo Qingyun's comprehension of the law of fire had reached the initial stage of mastery. It's done. After seeing this scene, Emo Qingyun was immediately overjoyed in his heart, and his expression became extremely excited. Compared to Emo Qingyun's surprise and excitement, Deng Ronghua, who was fighting with him, was shocked. He exclaimed, "The law of fire? This kid succeeded? Hallucination, this must be a hallucination." After a brief moment of shock, Deng Ronghua shook his head and tried to clear his head. He said, "How can a person with a cultivation in the 8th level of the divine power realm comprehend the law of fire?" However, before Deng Ronghua could recover from the shock in his heart, he saw an even more powerful and condensed fire dragon halberd light coming towards him in a tyrannical manner. After seeing the fire dragon halberd light, the doubts in Deng Ronghua's heart disappeared without a trace. The law of fire, the true law of fire. Emo Qingyun had really comprehended the law of fire. It's not a hallucination? Deng Ronghua was stunned when he saw Emo Qingyun's performance. He could not believe what he was seeing. Although Deng Ronghua was extremely shocked in his heart, he was still a supreme realm powerhouse after all. He quickly recovered from his shock and moved to block Emo Qingyun's halberd. Under Deng Ronghua's attack, the fire dragon halberd light was quickly blocked and turned into a ball of fire before dissipating. You really comprehended the law of fire? Although he already knew that Emo Qingyun had comprehended the law of fire, Deng Ronghua could not help but ask, "You said it?" Chapter 1040. As soon as he finished speaking, Emo Qingyun's body turned into an afterimage and instantly rushed in front of Deng Ronghua. Arriving in front of Deng Ronghua, Emo Qingyun brandished his blazing halberd and slashed at Deng Ronghua. Under Emo Qingyun's swing, flames immediately surged from the halberd, erupting with a terrifying wave of heat. Under the impact of the flames, the space began to tremble as if it was about to be incinerated by the flames. When Emo Qingyun attacked, Deng Ronghua, who no longer had the advantage of nomological laws and domains, immediately got beaten up. Emo Qingyun did not hold back at all. He continued to attack Deng Ronghua wildly. As Emo Qingyun and Deng Ronghua clashed, their figures immediately intertwined. Fist and halberd light wreaked havoc, dazzling the onlookers. Bang! Another muffled sound rang out. Deng Ronghua, who was fighting with Emo Qingyun, was once again sent flying by Emo Qingyun. Receiving another full-powered attack from Emo Qingyun, Deng Ronghua immediately vomited blood. His face paled even further, and his presence became even weaker. Seeing Deng Ronghua's performance, the reverence in everyone's eyes when they looked at Emo Qingyun could not help but become even stronger. Even a powerful existence like Deng Ronghua was seriously injured and fell to the ground under Emo Qingyun's tyrannical attack. He vomited blood. Cough, cough, cough. Deng Ronghua coughed gently a few times. Only after calming down his rampaging presence did he slowly stand up. After standing up, Deng Ronghua looked at Emo Qingyun with even more fear. He said in a deep voice, You're actually able to force me to this point with your cultivation at the 8th level of the divine ability. That really surprises me. However, it's time for this battle to end. With that, Deng Ronghua raised his hand and formed a seal, summoning the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd. After Deng Ronghua took out the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, it rapidly expanded to the size of a thatched cottage. Not only that, but after the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd was summoned, a dense black fog emerged from the mouth of the gourd. After the dense black fog came out, it turned into a huge black net and quickly enveloped Mo Qingyun. Brat, I admit that your talent and strength are very strong. However, this Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd can even capture Supreme Being Expert. Let's see how you're going to resist its capture. Activating the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, Deng Ronghua revealed a gloomy expression as he spoke proudly. In his opinion, no matter how monstrous Mo Qingyun was, he could only resign himself to death in the face of the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd. Sect Master Deng, since I dared to return the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd to you, don't tell me that I don't have a backup plan? In response to Deng Ronghua's proud words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He formed a handprint and blasted it toward the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd. Mo Qingyun's handprint was extremely fast. In a flash, it blasted into the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, causing the gourd to emit a dazzling light. Destroy! After Mo Qingyun shouted coldly, the soul brand that he had left in the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd was immediately activated and destroyed Deng Ronghua's soul brand. As the soul brand in the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd was destroyed, Deng Ronghua groaned and spat out another mouthful of blood. He had lost control of the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd. At this moment, Mo Qingyun waved his hand at the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, and it flew into his hand. Seeing this, the surrounding people were shocked. They could not believe that this was real. Deng Ronghua's natal treasure, the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, had been forcefully taken away by Mo Qingyun. How is this possible? The Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd is the sect master's natal treasure. How could it be taken away so easily? Who is this guy? How does he know so many strange tricks? What a monstrous guy! It seems that the sect master will lose this battle. Does our Ghost Mound sect really have to submit to him? Mo Qingyun's talent is amazing and his strength is powerful. It is not shameful to submit to him. Pang Dian and the others had a complicated expression. They were shocked and emotional. How could you? Seeing that he had lost control of the Yin-Yang Mother-Child Gourd, Deng Ronghua's eyes widened. He could not accept this fact. Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to Deng Ronghua's shock. He asked coldly, Sect Master Deng, now that you have no more trump cards, it seems that there is no need to continue the battle. Let me ask you one more time. Do you choose to submit to me or die? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Deng Ronghua's expression became uncertain. He could not make a decision in a short time. He knew that with the talent that Mo Qingyun had shown, it was not shameful for him to follow Mo Qingyun. However, for him, a supremacy, to follow a junior of the Transcendent Realm level 8 was a little difficult for him. Sigh. I choose to submit to you. After a struggle between heaven and man, Deng Ronghua sighed helplessly and finally decided to submit to Mo Qingyun. There was nothing he could do about it. Although he was extremely unwilling to submit to Mo Qingyun, he had no choice but to do so in order to save his own life. Let go of your soul. I want to plant a soul imprint in it. Seeing that Deng Ronghua had chosen to submit, Mo Qingyun nodded in satisfaction and instructed Deng Ronghua. Hearing Mo Qingyun's instructions, Deng Ronghua hesitated for a moment before letting go of his soul and allowing Mo Qingyun to plant a soul imprint in it. After Deng Ronghua submitted, the rest of the people from the Ghost Tomb sect did not resist and allowed Mo Qingyun to plant a soul imprint in their souls. With this, Mo Qingyun had completely subdued the Ghost Tomb sect. After subduing the Ghost Tomb sect, Mo Qingyun took out a large number of elixirs and handed them to Deng Ronghua. Sect leader Deng, these are elixirs for healing and cultivation. Please distribute them to everyone. Royal grade elixirs? Looking at the elixirs that Mo Qingyun handed over, Deng Ronghua's expression changed slightly. He was pleasantly surprised. The people from the Ghost Fetus clan were not good at refining elixirs. Even a king-grade elixir was extremely precious to them. Now that Mo Qingyun had taken out a large number of royal-grade elixirs, he was shocked. He suddenly felt that following Mo Qingyun was a good thing. Thank you, Master, for your reward. After receiving the elixirs from Mo Qingyun, Deng Ronghua quickly thanked Mo Qingyun and distributed the elixirs to Deng Xing and the rest. After distributing the elixirs, Mo Qingyun allowed Deng Ronghua and the rest to heal their injuries while he found a secret room to cultivate. As for Di Heng and Di Xing's banquet, although it was delayed by Mo Qingyun's battle, it was not cancelled because of it. Chapter 1041. After arriving at the secret cultivation room, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and entered the five-direction pagoda. After entering the second floor of the five-directional pagoda, Mo Qingyun cast aside all distracting thoughts and began to comprehend the law of fire. Although he was able to comprehend the law of fire with Deng Ronghua's help, his current understanding of the law of fire was still at a smattering. He needed to comprehend it thoroughly. The application of the law power was divided into three levels: comprehension, analysis, and fusion. The level of comprehension was relatively simple. He just had to thoroughly comprehend each type of power of law and grasp its most essential characteristic. The analysis level was more complicated. It required one to refine the characteristics of the law power and list them one by one to enter a deeper level of comprehension. As for the fusion level, it required one to fully comprehend the law power before fusing and using all its characteristics. If one could fuse and use all the other laws, it would be a sign of reaching the complete sovereign stage. As for the first three levels of the application of the law, they corresponded to the three small realms of the sovereign stage: the early stage, the middle stage, and the late stage. Once the law power was fully grasped and fused, it would be integrated into the remarkable treasure elephant to form an independent treasure elephant small world. This was the ninth realm of the martial way, the sovereign stage. In his previous life, when Mo Qingyun was ambushed by Li He and the other two, he had already comprehended the law of fire to the second level, analysis. Therefore, although Mo Qingyun was not as proficient as Deng Ronghua in the application of the law of fire, his familiarity with the law of fire was far beyond Deng Ronghua's. The law of fire has a total of three characteristics. They are heat, burning, and light. Now I will comprehend the heat characteristic first. After immersing himself in his cultivation, Mo Qingyun began to recall the memories of his previous life and slowly familiarize himself with the heat characteristic of the law of fire. As Mo Qingyun immersed himself in his memories, balls of flames condensed around his body and emitted a terrifying heat wave. Not only that, but when the flames appeared, Mo Qingyun's body also emitted a terrifying heat wave. Subsequently, the temperature around Mo Qingyun's body began to rise rapidly. 500 degrees, 1,000 degrees, 3,000 degrees, 5,000 degrees. As time passed, the temperature around Mo Qingyun rose higher and higher. Soon, it reached over 10,000 degrees. At this moment, if Deng Xing and the others approached, Mo Qingyun wouldn't even need to attack them, as they would be instantly roasted dry. Of course, Mo Qingyun was unaware of all this. He was completely immersed in his cultivation. On the second floor of the Five Directions Tower. Unknowingly, half a year had passed. Mo Qingyun was still in the midst of cultivation. At this moment, the temperature emitted from Mo Qingyun's body had reached a terrifying degree of tens of thousands of degrees. Under such a terrifying temperature, even if a spiritual weapon was placed inside, it would be instantly incinerated into liquid and evaporated. Not to mention human cultivators, even Deng Ronghua, who was at the Supreme Realm, would have a slim chance of surviving. "Master, your subordinate has something urgent to report." At this moment, Deng Ronghua sent a sole message to Mo Qingyun, who was in the middle of cultivation. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and slowly opened his eyes. "Over 87,000 degrees. I'm still 13,000 degrees away from the law of fire's burning characteristic to perfection." Sensing the temperature he was emitting, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly, revealing a look of pleasant surprise. Cultivating in the Five Directions Tower for half a year was only 10 days in the outside world, and he had such a cultivation improvement. This kind of cultivation speed was really very shocking. Not only that, under this half a year of cultivation, although Mo Qingyun didn't deliberately cultivate his origin energy, his origin energy cultivation still reached the peak of the 8th level of the divine power realm. The cultivation speed of the 5 elements spiritual body is indeed shockingly fast. Looking at the progress of his origin energy cultivation, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He was deeply moved by such a cultivation speed. While marveling at the improvement of his origin energy cultivation, Mo Qingyun also sensed his soul cultivation. He shook his head unconsciously and said, "Compared to the improvement of my origin energy cultivation, the improvement of my soul cultivation is still too slow. It seems that if I have time in the future, I'll have to focus on improving my soul cultivation." After checking his situation, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and left the Five Directions Tower. After leaving the Five Directions Tower, Mo Qingyun directly walked out of the secret cultivation room and saw Deng Ronghua waiting outside. "Young lord." Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out of the secret cultivation room, Deng Ronghua respectfully bowed and said with a dignified expression, "Young lord, your subordinate has just received news from the Ghost King Palace. They have invited your subordinate to discuss important matters. I wonder if Master would like to go together?" "Ghost King Palace?" Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He smiled faintly and said, "Well, since you've recovered from your injuries, it's time to go and subdue the Ghost King Palace." Seeing that Mo Qingyun wanted to subdue the Ghost King Palace, Deng Ronghua's expression immediately turned serious and said, "Young lord, although Fanja's cultivation is also at the early stage of the Supreme Being realm, it has been nearly 100 years since he broke through to the Supreme Being realm. His strength is not something your subordinate can compare with. You have to be careful when you fight with him." Hearing Deng Ronghua's worried words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand, saying, "Don't worry. If it was a few days ago, it might have been a little troublesome for me to deal with him. But now, there won't be any problems." Now, Mo Qingyun's scorching characteristic of the law of fire had reached the level of perfection. His strength was comparable to a mid-stage Supreme Being expert. As long as Fanja's cultivation was not at the late stage of the Supreme Being realm, Mo Qingyun would have no pressure to deal with him. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Deng Ronghua's expression changed involuntarily, revealing a look of shock. Although he did not know the specific strength of Mo Qingyun now, he was sure of one thing, and that was that Mo Qingyun was no longer the same as a few days ago. Because the faintly discernible aura emitted from Mo Qingyun's body made their hearts palpitate, which had not happened a few days ago. Knowing this, Deng Ronghua did not say anything more. He looked at Mo Qingyun with an inquiring expression and asked, "Master, when shall we set off for the Ghost King Palace?" "Go and make the arrangements. We'll set off for the Ghost King Palace immediately," Mo Qingyun instructed Deng Ronghua. Then he sat down on a stone bench in the small courtyard, waiting for Deng Ronghua to make the arrangements. "Yes." Deng Ronghua nodded in response. He stepped out of the small courtyard to make some arrangements for the Ghost Tomb sect. About 2 hours later, Deng Ronghua, who had gone to make the arrangements, came back, along with Deng Xing and the other two. Since everyone is here, let's set off. Glancing at Deng Ronghua and the other three, Mo Qingyun stepped on the air, slowly floated up, and flew out of the Ghost Tomb sect. Chapter 1042. The strength of Mo Qingyun's group was comparable to that of a half-venerable expert, or even beyond that. Flying at full speed, their speed was naturally incomparable to that of an ordinary person. 3 days later, a magnificent palace appeared in front of Mo Qingyun's group. This was where the Ghost King Palace was located. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun's group of 5 flashed and arrived at the gate of the Ghost King Palace. Who are you? Tell me your name. Seeing Mo Qingyun's group in front of the gate, the 2 gatekeepers of the Ghost King Palace blocked the way of Mo Qingyun's group. How dare you? I am the sect master of the Ghost Mound sect. Seeing the actions of the gatekeepers of the Ghost King Palace, Deng Ronghua angrily shouted and forced the 2 gatekeepers to retreat. Sensing Deng Ronghua's terrifying chi power, the gatekeepers of the Ghost King Palace trembled and did not dare to stop Mo Qingyun's group. Master, please. After forcing the gatekeepers to retreat, Deng Ronghua made an inviting gesture and followed Mo Qingyun into the Ghost King Palace. Seeing Mo Qingyun's group of 5 enter the Ghost King Palace, the gatekeepers did not dare to hesitate and hurriedly reported the arrival of Mo Qingyun's group. Deng Ronghua was obviously very familiar with the Ghost King Palace. Under his guidance, Mo Qingyun's group of 5 soon arrived at Fanja's residence. At this time, Fanja had been informed of Deng Ronghua's group's arrival by the gatekeepers. Old Devil Deng, long time no see, your temper is still as bad as ever. Looking at Deng Ronghua walking into the small courtyard, Fanja shook his head with a wry smile, feeling helpless about Deng Ronghua's behavior. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Fanja was not displeased because of this. It seemed that he had a good relationship with Deng Ronghua. Don't say these useless things. Tell me quickly, why did you call me here in such a hurry? Deng Ronghua did not pay attention to Fanja's words and directly opened the door to ask. While saying this, Deng Ronghua moved a chair for Mo Qingyun and let Mo Qingyun sit down beside him. Fanja frowned slightly when he saw Deng Ronghua's actions. He looked surprised and thought to himself, who is this young man? He can actually make old Devil Deng be so respectful to him. Based on Fanja's understanding of Deng Ronghua, old man Deng's temper was like a stone in a latrine, smelly and stubborn. However, at this moment, he suddenly acted out of character and acted so respectfully towards Mo Qingyun. This was simply too illogical. Although he was curious about Mo Qingyun's identity, Fanja was not a reckless person. He did not ask directly. Seeing that Deng Ronghua and the others had taken their seats, Fanja pondered for a moment before a solemn expression appeared on his face. It's like this. A few days ago, didn't you tell us that the spatial rift leading to the ghost path had expanded, and that a half-step Anitya Hellguard had passed through it? Not bad. Deng Ronghua nodded. Fanja glanced at Mo Qingyun and hesitated for a moment before continuing. After old Devil Huang Guan received the news, he secretly contacted the people of the various sections. On the surface, he said that he wanted to join forces to deal with the ghosts, but in reality, he wanted to use this opportunity to unify the mysterious Yin mountain range. I didn't think that old Devil Huang Guan would not give up after so many years and still wants to unify our mysterious Yin mountain range. Hearing Fanja's explanation, Deng Ronghua's expression turned solemn and a trace of worry appeared on his face. He continued, we must not let old Devil Huang Guan succeed. Otherwise, the mysterious Yin mountain range will be turned upside down by him. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's why I asked you to come and discuss it in advance. Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Fanja nodded in agreement. He looked troubled as he continued, however, I heard that Grand Elder Tao Qing of the Ominous Sea sect has recently broken through to the Supremacy stage. If the mysterious Een mountain range receives help from the ominous sea sect, it will be very disadvantageous for us. Hearing this, Deng Ronghua fell silent and looked gravely at Emo Qingyun. Fanja was curious when he saw Deng Ronghua's actions. He turned to Emo Qingyun and asked, "Old Devil Deng, who is this little brother?" "He is." Hearing Fanja ask about Emo Qingyun's identity, Deng Ronghua hesitated for a moment. He did not know how to introduce Emo Qingyun. While Deng Ronghua was hesitating, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said to Fanja, "My name is Emo Qingyun. I've come here today to discuss something with you." "Discuss something with me?" Fanja was stunned when he heard Emo Qingyun's words. His face was filled with surprise. He did not seem to recognize this young man, but the other party said that he had something to discuss with him. This was far too strange. Emo Qingyun did not explain to Fanja's confusion. Instead, he went straight to the point. "I can help you solve the problem that you're having a headache over. However, you have to submit to me like Deng Ronghua." "Submit to you like Deng Ronghua?" Fanja was stunned again. His head buzzed, and he thought that he had misheard. A junior with a cultivation base of level 8 of the Divine Power Realm wanted him to submit to him? This was the biggest joke in the world. After calming himself down, Fanja's face darkened. He said to Emo Qingyun unhappily, "Junior, on account of old Devil Deng, if you apologize to me now, I will not pursue the matter of your previous offense. As expected, I still have to use force." Seeing Fanja's reaction, Emo Qingyun was not surprised. He sighed and threw a palm strike at Fanja. Suddenly, balls of flames covered the sky and enveloped Fanja. After the flames appeared, the temperature in the small courtyard rose rapidly. In an instant, the entire courtyard was burned to ashes. The law of fire. Seeing Emo Qingyun's appearance, Fanja was shocked. He could not believe that this was real. A kid with a cultivation base of level 8 of the Divine Power Realm had comprehended the law of fire. Moreover, his attainment in the law of fire was not shallow. Of course, while Fanja was shocked, he did not hesitate at all. He quickly took action to resist the heat wave. However, his resistance was futile. The temperature emitted by the flames was too high. It was not something that he could withstand. For a Supremacy who had just broken through, resisting a temperature of more than 10,000 degrees was their limit. For a Supremacy like Fanja, who had broken through for 100 years, resisting a temperature of more than 20,000 degrees was their limit. However, the temperature of the flames released by Emo Qingyun was obviously not as simple as 20,000 degrees. As the temperature continued to rise, Fanja, who was surrounded by flames, became weaker and weaker. The characteristic of a minor mastery? No, this is great mastery? Seeing Emo Qingyun's attack, Deng Ronghua was shocked. He was stunned by the scene in front of him. He also cultivated the laws of fire, so he was naturally very clear about the might of the laws of fire. He clearly remembered that Emo Qingyun had only comprehended the law of fire for about 10 days. In just 10 days, he had comprehended the characteristic of the law of fire to great mastery. This level of comprehension was too heaven-defying. Chapter 1043. Stop. Stop now. I'll submit to you. Even with Fanja's supreme being cultivation, he couldn't help but beg for mercy under the constant erosion of the terrifying temperature. He had no choice. If he didn't beg for mercy now, he would become a roasted pig. Although Emo Qingyun wasn't a supreme being, his use of the law of fire was comparable to a mid-stage supreme being. The competition between supreme beings was different from the previous 7 realms. It wasn't just a competition of the amount of origin energy, but more importantly, it was a competition of the use and control of the law of fire. Therefore, even supreme beings of the same level were vastly different from each other. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that each step was like a natural chasm. Not to mention the difference between the early stage, mid-stage, late stage, and complete supreme beings, even if they were both mid-stage supreme beings, due to their different control of the law of fire, there would still be a huge gap in their strength. For example, Mo Qingyun could control the heat to over 80,000 degrees, while Deng Ronghua could control it to 50,000 degrees. Mo Qingyun could kill Deng Ronghua in a matter of minutes. From this, it could be seen how big the gap between supreme beings was. It was also because of this that Mo Qingyun didn't seek revenge on Li He and the others, even though he had the ability to kill a half-step supreme being in a matter of seconds. In his previous life, before Mo Qingyun died, Li He and the others were already mid-stage supreme beings. Now, it was very likely that they had reached late-stage supreme beings. In this way, it would be extremely difficult for Mo Qingyun to deal with them with his trump cards and trick. Seeing that Fan Zhe was begging for mercy, Mo Qingyun stopped torturing him. He waved his hand casually and removed the flames that surrounded Fan Zhe. Phew! Seeing that the flames around him had disappeared, Fan Zhe's expression relaxed, and he let out a deep breath. Then, he looked at Mo Qingyun with a look of awe and veneration. At the same time, he also understood why Deng Ronghua was so respectful to Mo Qingyun. It was simply too frightening that someone with a cultivation of level 8 of the divine power could control the law of fire to such an extent. Let go of your soul, I want to plant a soul imprint in it. After removing the flames surrounding Fan Zhe, Mo Qingyun didn't say much to Fan Zhe. Instead, he ordered Fan Zhe to leave. Yes. Fan Zhe glanced at Deng Ronghua and sighed dejectedly. He released his soul according to Mo Qingyun's request. Moments later, the Deputy Lord and elders of the Ghost King Palace were also subdued by Mo Qingyun. Because of this, the entire Ghost King Palace was subdued by Mo Qingyun. Old man Fan, you won't blame me for this, right? Seeing that the Ghost King Palace had also been subdued, Deng Ronghua smirked and elbowed Fan Zhe. Humph. You still have the nerve to say that. Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Fan Zhe snorted unhappily. A strong sense of displeasure rose in his heart. They were always on tenterhooks, guarding against Huang Guan. Who would have thought that they would be tricked by Deng Ronghua, making him submit to Mo Qingyun? This huge disparity made him feel very sullen in his heart. The only thing that made Fan Zhe feel better was that Mo Qingyun's potential and talent were extremely high. Following Mo Qingyun was not a disgrace. Seeing Fan Zhe's reaction, Deng Ronghua was not surprised. He smiled evilly and said, "Since we've been friends for so many years, I'll tell you a secret. Master is actually an alchemy venerable." Alchemy? Alchemy venerable? Hearing Deng Ronghua's words, Fan Zhe was shocked. He thought that he had heard wrongly. Huff, huff, Fan Zhe took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He whispered, "Have you seen Master refine elixirs?" "No, I haven't." Deng Ronghua shook his head and his expression turned serious. He said, "However, an elder in my sect has seen it. In addition, Master has rewarded me with many Emperor elixirs. Many of them are tribulation-grade elixirs. If Master is not an alchemy venerable, how could he have so many tribulation-grade Emperor elixirs? Then it can't be wrong." Fan Zhe nodded his head in agreement with Deng Ronghua's explanation. The resentment in his heart immediately disappeared. In the Ghost Fetus clan, there was not even a single alchemy sovereign, let alone an alchemy venerable. He knew very well what an alchemy venerable represented. If Mo Qingyun was really an alchemy venerable, in addition to Mo Qingyun's cultivation talent, it would be a huge gain for him to follow Mo Qingyun. After thinking about it, Fan Zhe's mood improved. He walked respectfully to Mo Qingyun and asked, "Master, the sect leader of the mysterious Yin sect, Huang Guan, has invited us to go to the mysterious Yin sect in 10 days. When should we go? You've suffered heavy injuries under the corrosion of the law of fire. We'll set off after you've recovered." Seeing that Fan Zhe's aura was still weak, Emo Qingyun waved his hand and took out a bottle of elixirs. He threw it to Fan Zhe and said, "This is a bottle of soul-returning vitality elixir. If you consume it, it will speed up your recovery." Many thanks, master." After receiving the elixir from Emo Qingyun, Fan Zhe immediately expressed his gratitude to Emo Qingyun. Fan Zhe no longer hesitated and immediately returned to his room to treat his injuries. One day later, seeing that Fan Zhe's injuries had recovered, Emo Qingyun left the Ghost King Palace. There was some distance between the Ghost King Palace and the mysterious Yin sect. With Emo Qingyun's speed, it took them 7 days to reach the mysterious Yin sect. As soon as Emo Qingyun and the others arrived at the mysterious Yin sect, they were greeted by an elder. It seemed that the sect leader of the mysterious Yin sect, Huang Guan, had already given them instructions. "Hall Master Fan, sect leader Deng, there are still some sect leaders who have not arrived yet. You can rest here for a few days. If you need anything, just let me know." After bringing Emo Qingyun and the others to a side courtyard, the elder of the mysterious Yin sect left after giving them some instructions. Emo Qingyun did not mind the mysterious Yin sect's arrangement and casually walked into a room to continue cultivating. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, the sect leader of the mysterious Yin sect, Huang Guan, did not show up, not even to greet them. Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua were infuriated by Huang Guan's actions. This Huang Guan was really too much. Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua were well aware of Huang Guan's intention. He wanted to use this to dampen Fan Zhe's spirit. Seeing that the 3 days were up, Emo Qingyun withdrew from his cultivation and walked out of his room. During these 3 days of cultivation, Emo Qingyun's control over the heat attribute of the laws of fire had improved even more than a few days ago. The temperature of the flames he could control had increased from 87,000 degrees to 90,000 degrees. He was a little closer to the perfection stage. When Emo Qingyun walked out of his room, the elder of the mysterious Yin sect, who had received Emo Qingyun and the others, came to the side courtyard again. He smiled faintly and said, "2 sect leaders and elders, the sect leaders and elders of the other sects have arrived. Please follow me to the main hall." Hearing this elder's words, Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua looked at Emo Qingyun, waiting for Emo Qingyun's opinion. "Let's go." Chapter 1044. In the conference hall of the Yinxian sect. At this moment, the hall was full of people. They were all flattering the middle-aged man sitting at the top of the hall. The middle-aged man sitting at the top of the hall was the current lord of the Yinxian sect, Huang Guan. The one sitting on the left of Huang Guan was an old man in his 70s. He was the other supreme master of the Yinxian sect, Huang Xian. The one sitting on the right of Huang Guan was a young man in his early 20s. His cultivation had reached the peak of junior venerable. More importantly, this young man was a human warrior, not a member of the Ghost Fetus clan. This person was the genius recruited by the Yinxian sect not long ago, Fang Yuan. At this moment, Fang Yuan kept his eyes closed and ignored the people in the hall. He gave people a feeling of arrogance. Although Fang Yuan's behavior was arrogant, no one dared to express their dissatisfaction. Instead, they were more in awe of him. It was said that although Fang Yuan's cultivation was at the peak of junior venerable, he defeated Tao Qing, who was in the Supreme Master realm 2 days ago. With the cultivation of junior venerable, Fang Yuan defeated an expert in the Supreme Master realm. Even if the expert had just broken through the Supreme Master realm, this kind of record was extremely amazing. It made him qualified to be arrogant. The person below Fang Yuan was an old man in plain linen clothes. He was Tao Qing, the Grand Elder of the Ominous Sea sect. Although Tao Qing's cultivation was in the Supreme Master realm, his strength was not as good as Fang Yuan's. Therefore, he had to be below Fang Yuan. Looking at the 4 people at the top of the main hall, the sect leaders and elders of the other sects in the main hall all had respectful expressions on their faces. Lord Huang, with the help of Grand Elder Tao Qing and Child Fang, the Yinxian sect will definitely unify the Xianin mountain range. The forces of the Xianin mountain range have been scattered for so many years. We should have united long ago. Lord Huang's action is a blessing for the entire Xianin mountain range. It is not only a blessing for the Xianin mountain range, but also for the entire Ghost Fetus clan. He will lead us to prosperity again. Yes, I believe that under the leadership of Lord Huang, our Ghost Fetus clan will definitely return to the Wasteland continent. As Emo Qingyun and the others approached, flattering words resounded from within the hall. Hee, sect leaders and elders, you're exaggerating. I still need your support and assistance from now on. After those flattering words, a dignified voice once again entered the ears of Emo Qingyun and the others. Old Ghost Huang Guan really thinks that he can cover the sky with one hand. He wants to unify the mysterious Yin mountain range with just him? Dream on. Deng Ronghua and Fanja's faces were filled with disdain and indignation when they heard the voice coming from the hall. Compared to Fanja and Fanja's displeasure, Emo Qingyun's face was calm. He walked into the hall with an indifferent expression. Sect Master, Hall Master Fan and Sect Master Deng are here. After bringing Emo Qingyun and the others to the main hall, the elder respectfully reported. Yes. Hearing this, Huang Guan, who was at the top of the hall, nodded to the elder, indicating for him to step aside. After waving to the elder, Huang Guan turned to look at Fanja and Fanja with a mocking look in his eyes. He pretended to be apologetic and said, Hall Master Fan, Sect Master Deng, I'm really sorry that you two came too late. The seats in the hall have just been taken. Please stand here and wait for a while. I'll ask someone to prepare the seat. Huang Guan apologized to Fanja and Fanja. He then gave a look to someone beside him and said, Someone, prepare seats for Hall Master Fan and Sect Master Deng immediately. Yes. The person immediately stood up and walked out of the hall to prepare the seats according to Huang Guan's instructions. Seeing Huang Guan's action, Deng Ronghua and Fanja immediately snorted coldly. The displeasure in their hearts increased. Given their intelligence, they were naturally able to guess that Huang Guan's actions were intentional. Huang Guan did this because he wanted them to make a fool of themselves in front of everyone. He wanted to kill their arrogance first. Fanja and Deng Ronghua were supreme beings. How could they tolerate this? Instantly, their faces were filled with displeasure. They walked up to the people of a sect and shouted coldly, You guys, get out of my way! Seeing Deng Ronghua and Fanja's actions, the sect master and elders of this sect immediately showed angry and dissatisfied expressions. However, due to Deng Ronghua and Fanja's strength, they stood up with an unwilling expression. There was no other way. Huang Guan could toy with Deng Ronghua and Fanja, but he was not qualified to do so. This world was cruel and realistic. If you were not powerful, you would only be bullied and become a punching bag for others. Huang Guan's expression changed slightly when he saw that the chief wanted to give up his seat. He revealed a dissatisfied expression as he said, Chief Deng, Hall Master Fan, we are all members of the Ghost Fetus clan. Aren't the actions of the two of you a little too overbearing? How the two of us do things is not up to you, Huang Guan, to control, right? Fanja looked at Huang Guan with disdain. He did not take Huang Guan's words to heart. Huang Guan seemed to have expected Fanja's reaction. When he saw this, he revealed a sinister smile and said, Since all the sect masters and elders have unanimously elected me as the leader of the various sects in the mysterious Yin mountain range, I naturally have to protect everyone's interests and dignity. How can I tolerate you bullying the weak? After saying these words of dissatisfaction, Huang Guan slowly stood up. He released his mid-stage Supreme Being aura and suppressed Deng Ronghua and Fanja. He said, Fanja, Deng Ronghua, the two of you are bullying the weak because of your strength. Obediently admit your mistakes and accept your punishment. At this moment, when Huang Guan released his aura, he also used the law of water. Immediately, a bone-chilling coldness invaded the bodies of Deng Ronghua and the others. Under the erosion of this chill, Deng Xing and the others at the side were directly frozen into ice sculptures. So powerful! Huang Guan's strength is even stronger than it was a few decades ago. Judging from the current situation, Huang Guan's law of water's frost attribute should have reached the initial level. The temperature of the ice is close to negative 50,000 degrees Celsius. It's definitely not something we can resist. Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua's expressions changed when they felt the intense coldness invading their bodies. Fear rose in their hearts. They did not expect that in just a few decades, the gap between them and Huang Guan had become so big. While Deng Ronghua and the others were terrified, a warm current suddenly flowed through their bodies. As this warm flow flowed, the chilliness that had invaded their bodies was expelled bit by bit. Master! When they realized this, Deng Ronghua and the others were overjoyed. They looked at Mo Qingyun excitedly. When Huang Guan attacked just now, they had forgotten about Mo Qingyun's existence. Chapter 1045. Under Mo Qingyun's attack, the chill released by Huang Guan was dispelled in the blink of an eye. After discovering this, Huang Guan's face immediately revealed a look of shock. He was quite shocked by the scene in front of him. He really didn't expect that Deng Ronghua and Fan Zhan would bring such a strong person with them this time. In the short fight just now, he could clearly feel that Mo Qingyun's control of the power of the law was faintly above his. However, what shocked Huang Guan more was that he found that the young man in front of him was only in the 8th hurdle of the divine power. With only the 8th hurdle of the divine power, he could control the power of the law. His talent seemed to be more terrifying than Fang Yuan's. Who are you? Why do you meddle in the affairs of our ghost fetus clan? Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Huang Guan showed a dignified expression and immediately regarded Mo Qingyun as a strong opponent. He was very clear that his biggest enemy now was no longer Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua, but the mysterious young man in front of him. If he couldn't deal with the mysterious young man, he would not be able to keep his position as the chief. Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun didn't conceal his identity for Huang Guan's inquiry. After indifferently responding, he raised his finger to Fang Yuan beside him and said, "As for the purpose of my coming, it's mainly because of this person." Mo Qingyun? As soon as Mo Qingyun's words came out, Fang Yuan, who had closed his eyes, suddenly opened his eyes, with a trace of coldness flashing in his eyes. After Fang Yuan opened his eyes, he showed a look of hatred. He stared at Mo Qingyun and said, "Mo Qingyun, I was about to find you to avenge my broken arm. I didn't expect you to come to me." Mo Qingyun knew Fang Yuan? Judging from their expressions, it seemed that they had a grudge against each other. Seeing this scene before them, everyone revealed a shocked expression. They were extremely shocked by this scene. They really didn't expect that there would be such a connection between these two amazingly talented human warriors. "Are you so sure that you can defeat me?" Mo Qingyun didn't care about Fang Yuan's indifferent words at all and responded indifferently. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Fang Yuan slowly raised his right arm and said coldly with a gloomy expression, "Whether I can kill you or not, we will know in a fight." After Fang Yuan finished his words, a cloud of threatening black mist emerged from his right arm. Pring pring pring, after the black fog appeared, Mo Qingyun's eyes began to twitch, as if they were connected by blood. After this feeling came out, Mo Qingyun looked at Fang Yuan's right arm with a strong surprise. "It's the right arm of the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan. Now I have refined the head, left arm and legs of the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan. Only the torso and right arm are left." I didn't expect that the right arm was obtained by Fang Yuan. Then, Mo Qingyun looked excited and said coldly to Fang Yuan, Fang Yuan, since I can break your arm once, I can break your arm for the second time today. Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch. Facing Mo Qingyun's words, Fang Yuan didn't answer. He punched at Mo Qingyun without hesitation. Under Fang Yuan's punch, the black fog on his right arm suddenly turned into a huge fist and smashed at Mo Qingyun. The black fist was extremely fast. It stopped in the blink of an eye and instantly enveloped Mo Qingyun. Shrouded by this huge fist shadow, Mo Qingyun felt a terrible pressure, and his action was greatly limited. After Fang Yuan got the right arm of the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, he should also get the inherited martial arts from it. After a short shock, Mo Qingyun had an inference in his heart. He said with a dignified expression, "The power of the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch is amazing. Under the cover of the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch, I can hardly move. It seems that if I want to kill Fang Yuan, I have to resolve the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch first." Then, Mo Qingyun quickly thought about the method to resolve the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch. At present, when Mo Qingyun was thinking in his heart, Fang Yuan actually took the initiative to attack him. Ghost Shadow Swordsmanship. Fang Yuan's figure moved. In a flash, he came in front of Mo Qingyun. He held a long sword and swept toward Mo Qingyun. The long sword flashed and turned into a ray of black light. It swept towards Mo Qingyun in a domineering manner. Sky-breaking halberd. In the face of the ghost shadow of the sword, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately waved the scorching halberd to resist. Under Mo Qingyun's wave, a 9-color halberd light condensed quickly and collided with the ghost shadow of the sword. Puff, puff, puff. When the halberd light collided with the sword, it suddenly made a harsh sound and produced an amazing storm of primordial energy. Seeing this storm of primordial energy, Fang Yuan didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately dodged the storm of primordial energy. Seeing Fang Yuan's action, Mo Qingyun slightly raised the corner of his mouth and sneered, "Since you are here, don't leave." Now he was imprisoned by the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch. Mo Qingyun couldn't move and take the initiative to attack Fang Yuan. Now that Fang Yuan took the initiative to approach him, how could he let Fang Yuan escape? It was a great opportunity to deal with Fang Yuan. Dragon catching hands with ice of the 9x9 blue sea. Mo Qingyun stretched his hand forward and blasted out a blue palm shadow. He directly held Fang Yuan in front of him in his hand. In a flash, the blue palm shadow that held Fang Yuan turned into a snow-white ice palm. Under the grip of the snow-white palm, Fang Yuan's body instantly condensed a layer of frost and was directly frozen into a popsicle. Seeing that he was caught by the ice palm and his body was covered by a thick layer of ice, Fang Yuan suddenly looked shocked. His eyes showed panic and fear. This time he was careless. He didn't expect Mo Qingyun to have such means. "Get over here." When Fang Yuan was frightened, Mo Qingyun directly captured Fang Yuan in front of him and dragged him into the shadow of the Heavenly Soul prohibiting magic punch. Break. After capturing Fang Yuan in front of him, Mo Qingyun directly cut off Fang Yuan's right arm without any hesitation. Crack. A crisp sound of bone cracking sounded. Then the right side of Fang Yuan's body was stained with blood. His entire right arm was cut off by Mo Qingyun. "Lord! Lord, help me!" Seeing that his right arm was cut off, Fang Yuan immediately showed a frightened expression and quickly asked Huang Guan for help. Seeing Fang Yuan's action of asking for help, Huang Guan immediately attacked Mo Qingyun without any hesitation. He wanted to kill Fang Yuan from Mo Qingyun. "Rule of fire, burn for me!" Seeing that Huang Guan attacked, Mo Qingyun immediately released the rule of fire without any hesitation. Suddenly, a group of hot flames condensed quickly and wrapped Fang Yuan in it. Fang Yuan was just a strong practitioner of the half-venerable realm. He didn't understand the power of the rule. How could he resist the burning of the flame of tens of thousands of degrees? At present, before Huang Guan could save him, he was instantly burned into ashes. Seeing the scene in front of them, Huang Guan and others were suddenly stunned. They couldn't believe that it was true. Chapter 1046. Fang Yuan's death made everyone's fear of Mo Qingyun increase by several times. Even someone as powerful as Fang Yuan had no power to resist Mo Qingyun's attack. In this way, only Huang Guan and Huang Xian were qualified to fight with Mo Qingyun among them. Under everyone's awe-inspiring gaze, Mo Qingyun looked at the right arm of Tianhun in his hand and put it away happily. Later, he would find time to refine the right arm of Tianhun. Only the torso of the whole body of Tianhun Demon Clan had not been refined. Seeing that Fang Yuan was killed by Mo Qingyun, Huang Guan was also shocked. He was shocked by the scene in front of him. He was very clear about Fang Yuan's strength. Even if he wanted to kill Fang Yuan, it would take a lot of effort. He could not do it as easily as Mo Qingyun. Of course, this did not mean that Mo Qingyun's strength was necessarily stronger than Huang Guan's. Seeing that Mo Qingyun killed Fang Yuan in front of him without hesitation, Huang Guan immediately felt that he had lost his face. Fang Yuan was the deputy lord of Yinxian sect, but he was killed in front of him. If he did not do anything, how could he suppress the disciples and the people of other sects in the future? Boy, Fang Yuan is the deputy lord of Yinxian sect. You killed him like this. Shouldn't you give me a reason? Huang Guan looked at Mo Qingyun with a gloomy face. His body exuded a murderous intention. He clenched his fist. It seemed that he would fight with Mo Qingyun at any time. Seeing that Mo Qingyun controlled the power of the rules, Huang Guan was still very afraid. He did not dare to fight with Mo Qingyun rashly. Reason? Mo Qingyun narrowed his eyes slightly. He resisted Huang Guan's imposing manner and said fearlessly, "Why should I give you a reason to kill someone? If you are not happy, you can fight with me directly." Arrogant. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, the Dark Yin sect's ancestor, Huang Xian, roared furiously and stood up from his chair. He glared at Mo Qingyun and said, "Kid, the sect master is the leader of the various sects in the Dark Yin mountain range. Is this the attitude you should speak to him?" Mo Qingyun laughed. What did it have to do with Mo Qingyun whether Huang Guan was the alliance master of the various sects in the mysterious Yin mountain range? He wasn't someone from the mystic Yin mountain range. Furthermore, was Huang Guan the leader of the various sects? Did the Ghost King Palace and the Ghost Tomb sect agree? Bah! We haven't even declared our position yet. When did Huang Guan become the alliance leader of the various sects? Old geezer Huang Xian, why don't you tell me why Huang Guan is the alliance master? Without waiting for Mo Qingyun to speak, Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua spoke disdainfully. The Dark Yin sect, the Ghost King Palace, and the Ghost Tomb sect had been competing with each other for a long time. In the future, it was impossible for them to act according to Huang Guan's wishes. Furthermore, they had already submitted to Mo Qingyun. Naturally, they wouldn't let Huang Guan have his way. Is there a need to ask? Of course, the alliance master is the most capable person. Huang Xian seemed to have expected that the Fan Zhe duo would say such a thing. Upon hearing their words, a sinister smile appeared on his face as he said, "Sect leader is the only intermediate supreme being expert in our mysterious Black Yin mountain range. He is undoubtedly the strongest person in the mysterious Black Yin mountain range. If he isn't the one to take the position of alliance chief, who else has the qualifications to do so? Now that I think about it, according to what you said just now, it seems that whoever is stronger will have the right to sit in the position of alliance leader?" Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and asked Huang Xian in return. He rubbed his chin and said, "If that's the case, if someone defeats Huang Guan, doesn't that mean that person can take the alliance master's position?" Huang Xian was an old monster who had lived for many years. He quickly understood the hidden meaning behind Emo Qingyun's words. Emo Qingyun wanted to challenge Huang Guan and compete with him for the Alliance Master's position. After witnessing Emo Qingyun's strength, Huang Xian couldn't be sure whether Huang Guan could defeat Emo Qingyun. This, due to his misgivings and worries, Huang Xian began to stammer. He didn't know how to respond to Emo Qingyun. Old geezer Huang Xian, why aren't you saying anything? Do you think Huang Guan isn't strong enough? If Huang Guan doesn't have the guts to fight, then let him obediently give up the Alliance Master's position. If he doesn't even have the guts to do this, how can Huang Guan be the Alliance Master of the various sects? I think the Alliance Master is the one with the thickest skin. As soon as Huang Xian finished speaking, Fan Zhe and Deng Ronghua had mocking expressions on their faces and mocked him. Seeing Deng Ronghua and Fan Zhe's actions, Huang Xian was immediately enraged. He wanted to attack them. However, just as Huang Xian was about to explode, he was stopped by Huang Guan. Haha, a kid who hasn't even grown out his hair dares to compete with me for the Alliance Master's position? After stopping Huang Xian, Huang Guan laughed loudly. He looked at Emo Qingyun and sneered. Kid, in the past 200 years, you are the first person who dares to speak to me like this. Today, I will let you know the price of provoking my temper. As soon as Huang Guan finished speaking, he no longer hesitated and directly threw a punch at Emo Qingyun. Frost City. Huang Guan's body moved, and a terrifying chill suddenly erupted from his body. As soon as this chilliness appeared, it began to wreak havoc in the surroundings at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the space within a 1-mile radius had turned into a world of ice. As this world of ice formed, waves of terrifying chill began to invade the bodies of Emo Qingyun and the others. Under the invasion of this chill, Fan Zhe and the others instantly turned pale. Their expressions were filled with fear. So powerful. Old Huang Guan's control of the law of water has reached such a level. The chill emanating from this ice has probably reached -50,000 degrees Celsius. Feeling the terrifying chill invading their bodies, Deng Ronghua and Fan Zhe were horrified. They realized the difference between them and Huang Guan. However, compared to Deng Ronghua and the others' shock, Emo Qingyun's face was calm. Heaven-breaking flame halberd. In the face of Huang Guan's overbearing attack, Emo Qingyun did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly waved the scorching flame halberd. With a wave of the scorching flame halberd, a ball of fire, like a scorching sun, erupted from the scorching flame halberd. As soon as this wave of heat appeared, it emitted a terrifying temperature and dispersed the encroaching chill. Subsequently, the surrounding world of ice and snow dissipated bit by bit, gradually turning into a sea of red fire. What a powerful law of fire! Huang Guan was shocked when he saw that Emo Qingyun had easily neutralized his attack. However, after a short moment of shock, Huang Guan's face darkened. Kid, even if the law power you control is powerful, I can still kill you with my Yuan power. Chapter 1047. You'll lose even more miserably if you compete with your origin energy. Looking at Huang Guan, who was charging towards him, Emo Qingyun shouted coldly. He raised his hand and blasted it towards Huang Guan. Suddenly, a miniature version of the light gate condensed in Emo Qingyun's palm. Once the sealed door was formed, it turned into a ray of light and blasted towards Huang Guan. Humph! Insignificant skill. Facing the attack of the sealed door, Huang Guan did not take it seriously. He waved his hand casually at the sealed door. In his opinion, a person at the level 8 of the divine power realm, no matter how strong his origin energy was, his origin energy attack would not be that strong. However, Huang Guan had made a mistake this time. Not to mention, Emo Qingyun had 9 great elixir palaces and his origin energy was not weaker than his. More importantly, The attack of the sealed door was not an origin energy attack, but a divine power technique. It was not something that could be blocked so easily. Poof! The sealed door was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it blasted into Huang Guan's body. Following that, Huang Guan's expression changed and revealed a strong sense of fear. His essence, energy circulation, and divine soul were actually being suppressed by a surge of energy. Not only that, but under the suppression of the sealed door, his cultivation level began to drop. After realizing this, Huang Guan was shocked and looked at Mo Qingyun in fear. Then, he stopped looking down on him. He knew that the kid in front of him was not easy to deal with. Mo Qingyun did not care about Huang Guan's shock. He moved his body and charged towards Huang Guan. Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger. Inaction Sky Concealing Finger. Middle Finger of Destruction. As Mo Qingyun's body moved, he consecutively struck out 3 fingers at Huang Guan, blasting out 2 extremely domineering finger lights. After witnessing the power of the sealed door, Huang Guan went all out to block Mo Qingyun's attack. However, as the attack of the Inaction Sky Concealing Finger was hidden, Huang Guan did not sense it. Frost Dragon Spinning Palm. Looking at the approaching Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger and Middle Finger of Destruction, Huang Guan blasted out 2 palms to block the 2-finger rays. Bang! A frosty palm shadow blasted onto Shaoza's Heavenly Spirit Finger, blocking it. A loud bang erupted as frosty ice elemental energy burst out like a flower of ice. However, Huang Guan managed to block the Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger, but failed to block the Inaction Heaven Concealing Finger and Zhongtong Finger of Destruction. Bang bang bang, facing the bombardment of the Inaction Heaven Concealing Finger and Zhongtong Finger of Destruction, Huang Guan was directly sent flying and crashed into the wall behind him. Under the impact of the yellow crown, the wall behind him instantly collapsed. Following that, a large number of houses were destroyed by the yellow crown. Huang Guan flew backward for several hundred meters until he crashed into a large mountain. Only then did he come to a stop. Walala! A moment later, the mountain rocks slid down and a crisp sound was heard. A figure in a sorry state walked out from within. Puff! When the figure walked out of the mountain rock, his body trembled and he spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. The expressions of Huang Xian and the others changed drastically when they saw this scene. Their eyes revealed disbelief. Huang Guan was injured. Huang Guan, a mid-stage supreme being, had actually been severely injured by a brat at the 8th level of the divine ability realm. This was simply too shocking. Whoosh! Before the crowd could recover from their shock, they saw a scarlet figure rushing towards Huang Guan. This figure was naturally Mo Qingyun. A lion would use its full strength to hunt a rabbit. Huang Guan was a mid-stage supreme being expert. Mo Qingyun naturally wouldn't be careless when fighting against him. He wouldn't give Huang Guan any chance to catch his breath. Mo Qingyun arrived in front of Huang Guan and attacked without mercy, pushing the law of fire to its limit. Under the corrosion of 90,000 degrees Celsius, the space within a 10-mile radius was instantly turned into a crimson world. Under the impact of such high temperature, if Huang Guan didn't control the ice attribute of the law of water and was able to resist a portion of the heat wave, he would have been roasted into a pig by now. But even so, in the face of the corrosion of tens of thousands of degrees, Huang Guan was also suffering. He could only exert 60% of his strength. He was first injured due to carelessness, and now he was burned by the high temperature. Now, Huang Guan was completely in a situation of being beaten up by Mo Qingyun. How is this possible? Lord is actually beaten by that brat without any strength to fight back. What a terrifying temperature. It's at least 80,000 degrees. Has this brat's law of fire reached perfection? Is he still a human? How can a person at the 8th level of the divine ability realm be so powerful? Fang Yuan was already strong enough before. I didn't expect this brat to be even more abnormal than him. Watching the battle between Emo Qingyun and Huang Guan, the surrounding people were all horrified. They were frightened by Emo Qingyun's performance. The light from his eyes was like a knife. A purple saber light shot out from Emo Qingyun's right eye, carrying with it an aura that could split the sky and the earth. The light from his eyes was extremely fast. In addition, now that Emo Qingyun and Huang Guan were fighting in close combat, Huang Guan was hit by the light from his eyes before he could react. Puff! Bombarded by the light from his eyes, Huang Guan was blown away again, and a 2-foot-long wound appeared on his chest. This wound almost cut Huang Guan's upper body into 2 halves, which directly made him lose his combat effectiveness. If Huang Guan was not a supreme master and his vitality was far stronger than ordinary people, he would have been dead by now. Emo Qingyun did not pay attention to Huang Guan's serious injury. He said with an indifferent expression, "Huang Guan, now I'll give you a choice. Either you surrender to me like Fan Zhe and the others, or you die." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Huang Guan showed a trace of confusion and turned to look at Fan Zhe and the other person. After glancing at Fan Zhe and the other person, Huang Guan fell silent and hesitated how to answer Emo Qingyun. Emo Qingyun was not anxious about Huang Guan's performance. He silently waited for his answer. Huang Guan was a mid-stage Supreme Master and was also the top expert in the mysterious Yin mountain range. It was indeed difficult to make him surrender. "Old Ghost Huang Guan, your injuries are very serious now. Don't take too long to consider it, lest it affects your cultivation in the future. It's a small matter if there's any future trouble. If you agree to surrender to Master and die because your injuries are too serious, then the losses will outweigh the gains." Seeing Huang Guan's current miserable state, Fan Zhe and the other person beside him revealed carefree expressions and said a few words of ridicule. "Shut up, all of you! Cough, cough, cough!" Hearing Fan Zhe and the other person's mocking words, Huang Guan immediately shouted angrily at them. He turned to Emo Qingyun and said, "Subordinate Huang Guan greets Master. Very good, release your soul." Seeing that Huang Guan was willing to surrender, Emo Qingyun revealed a satisfied expression and instructed him. Huang Guan was a mid-stage Supreme Master. If he could subdue him, it would be of great help to him in seeking revenge on Li He's people. After a while, Emo Qingyun planted a soul imprint on all the sect leaders and elders, including Huang Guan. Chapter 1048. After subduing Huang Guan and the others, Emo Qingyun asked them to leave. He found a secret room and started to practice. Now that he had obtained Tian Hun's right arm, Emo Qingyun naturally did not hesitate. He was ready to refine Tian Hun's right arm immediately. In the secret room, thump, 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 after taking Tian Hun's right arm out of the universal bag, Emo Qingyun's eyes twitched again. There was a strong bloodline reaction. Fang Yuan only refined Tian Hun's right arm as a magic treasure, but he still obtained the bloodline martial arts technique. If I refine the power of the bloodline in Tian Hun's right arm, I will definitely be able to obtain the bloodline martial arts technique. Looking at Tian Hun's right arm in front of him, Emo Qingyun looked expectant. He immediately started to refine it. Under Emo Qingyun's refinement, wisps of pure Tian Hun's bloodline were extracted from Tian Hun's right arm. After the bloodline of Tian Hun was extracted, it turned into tiny purple bloodlines and slowly drilled into Emo Qingyun's pores. After the purple bloodlines drilled into Emo Qingyun's body, the blood in his body surged and quickly merged with the purple bloodlines. Then, a terrifying demonic power was emitted from Emo Qingyun's body. It formed an even more solid ancient demonic shadow. As time passed, the demonic shadow became more and more solid. The aura it emitted also became more and more powerful. However, Emo Qingyun did not know about this. Otherwise, he would definitely be shocked by the appearance of the demonic shadow. As time passed, Tian Hun's right arm shriveled up bit by bit. Finally, it became a pitch-black skeleton. After absorbing all the blood in Tian Hun's right arm, Emo Qingyun immersed himself in refining. He entered a very mysterious state. When he entered this state, a shocking amount of information surged into Emo Qingyun's mind. This information recorded the bloodline martial arts technique, Tian Hun's Heaven Sealing Fist. As expected, I have obtained the bloodline martial arts technique. Emo Qingyun's face lit up when he saw the information that had appeared in his mind. He began to digest it bit by bit. Several hours later, Emo Qingyun had completely memorized the description of the Heaven Soul Sealing Fist. At the same time, Emo Qingyun had a general understanding of the Heaven Soul Sealing Fist. This Heaven Soul Sealing Fist was different from Demon Fist Shattering Star River. It was not an offensive martial art, but a sealing martial art. Its offensive effect was similar to the sealed door. However, it was slightly different from the sealed door. The sealed door sealed the meridians within a cultivator's body, while the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist sealed the cultivator's mobility. One was internal, one was external. There was a fundamental difference. If one really had to say, it could only be said that the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul was relatively similar to the trapping array, but the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul was more convenient to use, and its power was extremely heavy and stronger. After knowing the power of the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist, Emo Qingyun naturally did not hesitate and immediately began to practice it. Emo Qingyun threw out a punch, and a shocking black fog burst out from Emo Qingyun's hand and turned into a huge demonic fist. After the demonic fist was thrown out, it was used on the incarnation. The incarnation was shrouded in it, and it lost its ability to move. However, the fist shadow only sealed the incarnation for a moment, and then it slowly dissipated and lost its ability to imprison the incarnation. No. This imprisoned time is not enough to pose a threat to the enemy. Emo Qingyun furrowed his brows when he saw the power of his fist. He was not very satisfied with it. However, Emo Qingyun did not feel frustrated because of it, and he continued to practice it. Although he had the bloodline of the Heavenly Soul Demon tribe, he had a unique advantage in practicing the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist. However, it was still very impossible for him to successfully practice the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist in one try. In the following time, Emo Qingyun patiently practiced the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist over and over again. Under Emo Qingyun's continuous practice, the time that the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist could imprison the enemy also increased bit by bit. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 10 breaths. Half a year in the 5-directional small tower was equivalent to more than 10 days in the outside world. After more than 10 days of continuous practice, Emo Qingyun could imprison an incarnation of the same level in the fist radiance for 10 breaths after he threw out a punch. Seeing his own actions, Emo Qingyun's face revealed a bright smile. He was very satisfied with his cultivation progress. After these days of continuous practice, he had finally reached the initial level of the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist. Not only that, during this period of practice, Emo Qingyun's Yuan power had unknowingly reached the limit of level 8 of the Divine Power Realm. Since my Yuan power cultivation has reached level 8 of the Divine Power Realm, I'll take this opportunity to break through it. After sensing his Yuan power cultivation, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate anymore and immediately tried to break through to level 9 of the Divine Power Realm. Then, under Emo Qingyun's cultivation, the Yuan power in his body continued to condense. 3 days later, under Emo Qingyun's continuous condensation, the Yuan power in his body finally reached a limit and could no longer be condensed and compressed. Seeing this, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate anymore and began to break through to level 9 of the Divine Power Realm. Under Emo Qingyun's full force attack, the barrier of level 9 of the Divine Power Realm did not have the slightest resistance and was broken through by the Yuan power domineeringly. Following that, Emo Qingyun's Yuan power cultivation reached level 8 of the Divine Power Realm and successfully broke through to level 9 of the Divine Power Realm. Seeing that his Yuan power cultivation had broken through to level 9 of the Divine Power Realm, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately sank into his cultivation to stabilize his realm. Just like that, time quietly passed by as Emo Qingyun cultivated. A day later, under Emo Qingyun's wholehearted cultivation, his cultivation finally stabilized. Seeing that his Yuan power cultivation had stabilized, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and slowly stood up. He thought to himself, now that the Fist of Heaven Soul Sealing Fist has been cultivated to the initial level, and my Yuan power cultivation has also broken through, it's time to go see Yongjun. Before Emo Qingyun entered his cultivation, he had instructed Huang Guan and the rest to let Qin Yongjun out. In Emo Qingyun's opinion, after these few days of recuperation, Qin Yongjun's injuries should have more or less recovered. After Emo Qingyun made a decision in his heart, he did not continue to stay and walked out of the secret cultivation room. At this moment, when Emo Qingyun walked out of the secret cultivation room, Huang Guan and the rest were already waiting outside. After these few days of cultivation, Huang Guan's injuries had completely recovered. Master! Seeing Emo Qingyun walk out of the secret cultivation room, Huang Guan and the rest revealed respectful expressions and bowed to Emo Qingyun. Get up! Towards Huang Guan and the rest's actions, Emo Qingyun waved his hand indifferently and said with a faint smile, Huang Guan, where is Qin Yongjun now? Bring me to see her. Yes. Chapter 1049. In a courtyard of the mysterious Yin sect, Qin Yongjun, who was wearing a light blue scholar's robe, looked at Emo Qingyun with a surprised and confused expression. A few days ago, Huang Guan and the others suddenly released him and arranged a quiet courtyard for him to heal and recuperate. This made him very confused. Later on, he found out from the disciples of the mysterious Yin sect that someone had saved him. However, now that he saw the person who saved him, it made him even more puzzled. He thought that he did not seem to have any interaction with Emo Qingyun, so why did Emo Qingyun save him? Who are you? Why did you save me? Do we know each other? Looking at Emo Qingyun in front of him, Qin Yongjun asked several questions in succession, revealing the intense doubt and confusion in his heart. I can't tell you my identity for now, but you'll naturally know everything when you return to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Emo Qingyun did not answer Qin Yongjun's question. Instead, he kept him in suspense. Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain? Qin Yongjun frowned slightly, revealing a look of understanding. He seemed to understand why Emo Qingyun had saved him. If he was not mistaken, Emo Qingyun had saved him because he was once familiar with Gu Qi. After understanding the reason Emo Qingyun had saved him, Qin Yongjun was even more confused. He asked in return, Little brother, senior, I'm afraid you still don't know? Our Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain was destroyed by the Sky Sword, Imperial Beast, and Sky Spear more than 80 years ago. I'm afraid the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain no longer exists in the world. In Qin Yongjun's opinion, Emo Qingyun probably did not know that the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain had been destroyed, so he mentioned it. Emo Qingyun was not surprised that Qin Yongjun would have such thoughts. After all, Qin Yongjun had stayed in the demon suppression abyss for more than 80 years and was isolated from the outside world. Moreover, the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain had just been rebuilt, so it was normal that Qin Yongjun did not know about it. To tell you the truth, the reason I came to save you this time was because I was entrusted by Su Chao. In response to Qin Yongjun's surprise, Emo Qingyun gave a simple explanation. Then, he continued, a year ago, Xu Chao's cultivation broke through to the utmost exalted realm. Now, he has already rebuilt the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. As for my identity, you can ask Xu Chao when the time comes. eldest senior brother's cultivation has broken through to the Supremacy realm. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qin Yongjun was pleasantly surprised, and her expression became excited. To him, this was undoubtedly the best news that could not be any better. At this moment, when Qin Yongjun was surprised and excited, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and said in surprise, "Hey! Your cultivation seems to be only a fine line away from the Supreme Being realm. It seems like you only need an opportunity to make a breakthrough. Although it's only a fine line, this step is extremely difficult to cross. As for the opportunity, it's even more illusory." Qin Yongjun sighed. He knew very well how difficult it was to break through from the half-exalted realm to the Supreme Being realm. Many people were unable to cross this final step, and in the end, died from exhaustion and stopped at the half-exalted realm. As for the opportunity that Mo Qingyun spoke of, in Qin Yongjun's opinion, it was even more unreachable. It was something that could only be encountered, not sought. In response to Qin Yongjun's concerns, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and comforted, "You don't need to be so pessimistic. It just so happens that I also comprehend the laws of fire. Now, I'll explain the mysteries of the laws of fire to you." "You?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qin Yongjun was surprised. She found it hard to believe Mo Qingyun's words. A person in the divine power level 9 wanted to guide her in comprehending the laws of fire? This seemed like child's play. Seeing Qin Yongjun's reaction, Fan Zhe and the others were immediately displeased. A few of them said with displeasure, "Brat, Master has already comprehended the burning characteristic of the laws of fire to the realm of greater mastery. It's your fortune that he's willing to guide you. How dare you question Master's ability?" What? The burning characteristic of the laws of fire to the realm of greater mastery. Hearing Fan Zhe's words, Qin Yongjun was stunned on the spot. She couldn't believe it was true. From what she knew, many half-exalted realm powerhouses couldn't even touch the threshold of the laws of fire. However, Mo Qingyun was only in the divine power level 9, yet he could control the laws of fire to such an extent. This was simply too frightening. "Ronghua, you also cultivate the laws of fire. Sit down too." Mo Qingyun didn't explain to Qin Yongjun's shock. He turned to Deng Ronghua and instructed, "Ronghua, you also cultivate the laws of fire. Sit down and listen too." Thank you, Master." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Deng Ronghua immediately revealed an excited expression and hurriedly thanked Mo Qingyun. Earlier, when he heard that Mo Qingyun wanted to guide Qin Yongjun in comprehending the laws of fire, he felt a strong sense of envy in his heart. It was also because of this that he showed such anger and dissatisfaction when he saw Qin Yongjun daring to question Mo Qingyun. Now that he saw that Mo Qingyun was willing to guide him, he was naturally overjoyed. At his level, if there was no one to guide him, it would be very difficult for him to make any progress in his cultivation. It was also because of this that his cultivation progressed very slowly after breaking through to the sovereign realm. The speed of his progress was like a snail's. After instructing Deng Ronghua, Mo Qingyun looked at Huang Guan and the others. He pondered for a moment before saying, "The cultivation of the martial Tao is different and leads to the same destination. Although the power of laws is divided into many types, at the end of the day, the essence is still the same. All of you should sit down and listen. Whether or not you can gain anything will depend on yourselves." "Thank you, Master." When they heard Mo Qingyun's words, not only were Fan Zhe and the others pleasantly surprised, but even Huang Guan was overjoyed. Although he had comprehended the laws of water, and had already mastered the ice attribute of the laws of water, it was still very precious to be able to listen to Mo Qingyun share his experience. After all, no matter what, Mo Qingyun's comprehension of the laws of fire had reached a deeper level than his, so there was bound to be something to learn from him. After explaining to everyone, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and began to share his comprehension of the laws of fire. Emo Qingyun's comprehension of the laws of fire in his previous life was to master the scorching and burning attribute. Even for the third attribute, the light attribute, he had some simple mastery over it. This level was definitely not something that Huang Guan and the others could compare to. Then, after Emo Qingyun opened his mouth, the insights and knowledge he shared shocked Huang Guan and the others. Great waves surged in their hearts as they were shocked beyond words. At this moment, Emo Qingyun's knowledge and insights had opened up a new window for their cultivation, allowing them to see the light in their cultivation. Chapter 1050. Emo Qingyun spoke for 3 days and 3 nights in a row before he got up and left Qin Yongjun's residence, leaving everyone to digest what he had heard. After leaving Qin Yongjun's residence, Emo Qingyun once again returned to the secret cultivation room and continued to practice the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul. The Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul was divided into 3 levels: Human Sealing, World Sealing, and Heaven Sealing. The human sealing level, as the name suggested, was to seal the enemy with a punch, causing them to lose their mobility for a short period of time. The world sealing level was to seal a part of the world with a punch. The power of this level was completely beyond the scope of human sealing. Of course, the most powerful was the last level, Heaven Sealing. It was rumored that in the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, there was an ancestor of the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan who had cultivated the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul to the level of Heaven Sealing. A punch could directly seal a part of the world, causing the whole world to be imprisoned. Of course, this was just a rumor of the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul. Emo Qingyun had no way to verify whether it was true or false, because the further he cultivated, the harder it was to improve the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul. It was impossible for Emo Qingyun to increase the sealing time like he did at the beginning. Time passed by little. In the blink of an eye, another half a year had passed on the second floor of the 5 Directions small tower. Finally, 16 breaths. Seeing that the sealing time had increased again, Emo Qingyun's face revealed a bright smile, and he was pleasantly surprised. After half a year of continuous cultivation, the sealing time of the Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul was finally increased to 16 breaths. Although it was only increased by 6 breaths, the power of the seal had increased by more than a few times. At Emo Qingyun's level, when fighting with others, he could kill dozens of people in every breath. 16 breaths was enough to change the outcome of the battle. The Fist of Heaven Sealing Soul is at the level of human sealing. 1 breath of time is the entry level, 10 breaths of small success, 40 breaths of advanced success, and 100 breaths of perfection. It seems that I still need to continue to work hard. Seeing that there was still a long way to go before he could master the first level of the Heaven Soul Sealing Fist, Emo Qingyun sighed in his heart. He did not dare to relax at all. After sighing inwardly, Emo Qingyun sorted out his emotions and muttered to himself, "Half a year has passed in the 5-directional pagoda, and about 10 days have passed in the outside world. Huang Guan and the others should have comprehended more or less." With this thought in mind, Emo Qingyun's figure moved and directly left the 5-direction small pagoda. A moment later, at Qin Yongjun's residence. When Emo Qingyun arrived, Huang Guan and the others had already stopped comprehending. Only Qin Yongjun and Deng Ronghua were still sitting in their original positions. At this moment, Deng Ronghua's body was emitting a terrifying heat wave. The temperature of this heat wave was close to 10,000 degrees. 10,000 degrees? Emo Qingyun's eyebrows furrowed when he sensed the heat coming from Deng Ronghua's body. A trace of pleasant surprise appeared on his face. 10,000 degrees is the mark of someone who has grasped the law of fire's heat property. It seems that Deng Ronghua has already begun to comprehend the law of fire's heat property. Fanja's face lit up with envy when he saw Deng Ronghua's mastery of the law of fire's heat property. He was originally stronger than Deng Ronghua, but now it seemed that he was about to be surpassed. Compared to Fanja's envy, Huang Guan was in a much better mood. That said, his eyes were still filled with envy. The sovereign realm was different from the previous realms. Every small step forward after becoming a sovereign was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. After all, in the Tianhun continent and the demon suppression abyss, the sovereign realm was the pinnacle of existence. The only way forward was to explore one's own path of cultivation. There would be many detours along the way, and many times, one would walk into a detour without even realizing it. By the time one realized it, it was already too late. A great deal of time had already been wasted. Thus, under Mo Qingyun's guidance, Deng Ronghua had only used a few days to grasp the scorching characteristic of the laws of fire. How could Huang Guan and the others not be envious? Deng Ronghua's heat property will only increase in intensity. I'm afraid it'll affect Yongjun's cultivation. Considering Deng Ronghua's following training activity, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate any longer. He began to take out various refining materials and set them up around Qin Yongjun. Mo Qingyun's actions surprised Huang Guan and the others. They didn't know what Mo Qingyun was doing. Sect Master, what is Master doing? I don't know the specifics, but it looks like he's setting up an array. Does Master know how to set up arrays? That's impossible. Not only is Master's cultivation talent amazing, he's also a pill sovereign. If he knows how to set up arrays, pill sovereign? Master is a pill sovereign? Huang Guan and the others were all shocked. A moment later, a 7-colored light was emitted, forming a light screen that enveloped Qin Yongjun. With the protection of this 7-star crepe myrtle defense array, no matter how big Deng Ronghua's movements are, it won't affect Yongjun. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he saw that the array was set up. He walked over to Huang Guan and the others and sat down. When they saw that Mo Qingyun had finished setting up the formation, the shock in Huang Guan and the others' hearts instantly intensified. They discovered that the might of the formation that Mo Qingyun had set up was not the slightest bit weaker than their sect-protecting grand formation. However, their great sect defense array was a high-level 7 array. Could it be that the array Mo Qingyun was setting up was also a high-level 7 array? After this thought appeared in his mind, Huang Guan revealed a nervous expression. He probed Mo Qingyun and asked, Master, the formation you have set up seems to be a little stronger than my mysterious insect's great sect protection formation. Could it be a level 7 high-tier formation? High-level 7 array? Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. He replied, No. Although the 7-star crepe myrtle defense array is a high-level 7 array, its defensive power isn't any weaker than some level 8 arrays. Gulp. Huang Guan and the others were stunned when they heard Mo Qingyun's reply. They couldn't help but swallow their saliva as they stared at Mo Qingyun with wide eyes. They had already overestimated Mo Qingyun, but who would have thought that they had still underestimated Mo Qingyun's attainments in array formations? Everyone sat silently at the side, guarding Deng Ronghua and Tao Qing as they cultivated. After a few hours, Deng Ronghua stopped cultivating and successfully stepped into the threshold of the law of fire's scorching characteristic. As for Qin Yongjun, after cultivating for 3 days, his aura suddenly soared and reached the same level as Tao Qing. His cultivation had broken through to the Supreme Being realm. Qin Yongjun didn't stop his cultivation immediately after breaking through to the Supreme Being realm. Instead, he continued to cultivate and stabilize his current realm. Chapter 1051. The end of Qin Yongjun's cultivation also indicated that Mo Qingyun was about to leave the demon-suppressing abyss. Since Yongjun's cultivation has ended, let's prepare to leave the demon-suppressing abyss. Mo Qingyun instructed Qin Yongjun, then turned to look at Huang Guan and the rest, and said in a deep voice, Huang Guan, if my guess is correct, It won't be long before the ghosts in the Ghost Road pass through the spatial cracks and invade the demon suppression abyss en masse. At that time, there might even be many sovereign stage ghost kings appearing. This is definitely not something you can resist. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Huang Guan and the rest's expressions immediately turned solemn. Clearly, they were also worried about this. After a brief moment of silence, Huang Guan revealed an inquiring expression and asked Mo Qingyun, "Master, do you have any good ideas?" Seeing that Huang Guan had asked him, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and said with a serious face, "In order to prevent you from being attacked by ghosts, you will leave the demon-suppressing abyss with me in a moment." The Ghost Road was in existence on the same level as the Immortal Road and Mortal Road. There were experts comparable to the 9th stage of the Martial Way. Once such an existence came to the mysterious Yin mountain range, it would definitely be the end for Huang Guan and the rest. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, the only way to protect Huang Guan and the rest was to let them all leave the demon-suppressing abyss. Huang Guan and the others frowned when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. They showed some concern on their faces. After a brief moment of silence, Huang Guan sighed and said, "Young lord, it's not that we don't want to leave with you, but the people of my Ghost Fetus clan are under some kind of restriction, causing us to be unable to leave the demon-suppressing abyss. Otherwise, we will be attacked and killed." "There's such a thing?" Hearing Huang Guan's words, Mo Qingyun was instantly shocked and a trace of curiosity appeared on his face. He really did not expect that Huang Guan and the rest would have such a secret in the demon-suppressing abyss. However, when he thought about how Huang Guan and the rest had remained in the demon-suppression abyss despite their cultivation base, Mo Qingyun felt relieved. If not for some special reason, with the strength of Huang Guan and the rest, how could they be willing to stay in the dark demon suppression abyss without seeing the light of day? Seeing Mo Qingyun's curious expression, Huang Guan sorted out his emotions and said in a deep voice, "Rumor has it that our Ghost Fetus clan's ancestor, the evil Ghost Master, once offended an almighty on the desolate continent. In order to punish our Ghost Fetus clan, that almighty used heaven-defying methods to seal our entire Ghost Fetus clan into the demon suppression abyss." After saying this, the lingering fear on Huang Guan's face deepened. He continued, "Tens of thousands of years ago, a great war broke out on the Heavenly Soul continent. During that war, the demon suppression abyss's formation was affected and quite a bit of damage occurred. My ancestors thought that with the formation damaged, they could leave the demon suppression abyss. But who would have thought that not long after they left the demon suppression abyss, they would be killed by a powerful force. At that time, 90% of our Ghost Fetus clan's ancestors died, causing the inheritance of our Ghost Fetus clan to be severed. From then on, our cultivation path was never able to recover. It was also because of that incident that our Ghost Fetus clan members no longer dared to leave the demon suppression abyss. So there's such a secret." Hearing Huang Guan's explanation, Mo Qingyun understood in his heart. He couldn't help but furrow his eyebrows. "If that's the case, bringing you all out of the profound Yin mountain range is not a small problem. If I'm not mistaken, that great being must have planted some sort of undetectable restriction in your ancestors' bodies. Once you leave the demon suppression abyss, the restriction in your bodies will be triggered." After a moment of thought, Mo Qingyun spoke his thoughts. Wearing a serious expression, he said to Huang Guan, "I have a method that can try to bring you all out of here. However, this method has a certain amount of risk. If you're not careful, your clansmen will die. Are you willing to give it a try? We can't leave this place anyway. When the time comes, we'll still be killed by the ghost. What's the harm in giving it a try?" After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Huang Guan didn't even need to think before coming to a decision. After Huang Guan made his decision, he had Huang Xian bring a few ragged prisoners over. He sternly said to them, "I'll give you all a chance to live now. Later, if you can keep your lives, I'll let bygones be bygones. Really? What do you want us to do? I'll do my best to complete it. Hearing Huang Guan's words, these people were pleasantly surprised. Each of them showed an eager expression. They had violated the mysterious insect's rules and should have been sentenced to death. Now that they had a chance to live, they naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. Following that, Emo Qingyun used these people as an experiment. He tried to bring them out of the mysterious Yin mountain range. Emo Qingyun's first method was to send them into the Five Directions Pagoda. He wanted to see if he could use the Five Directions Pagoda to bring them out. However, just as Emo Qingyun sent one of them into the Five Directions Pagoda, a terrifying aura appeared. It hovered above Emo Qingyun's head, terrifying his soul. After discovering this, Emo Qingyun's expression was immediately shocked. A lingering fear rose in his heart. Fortunately, this terrifying aura didn't descend. Otherwise, even if he had the cultivation of a late-stage supreme, he would have been instantly blasted into smithereens. At the same time, Emo Qingyun understood that it was impossible to bring Huang Guan and the others out of the devil-suppressing abyss through the Five Directions Pagoda. Thus, the first method was declared a failure. Seeing that the first method had failed, Emo Qingyun's expression turned solemn. Relatively speaking, even if the first method failed, it wouldn't pose any threat to him. However, the second method was different. If something went wrong, it would cause him to fall into a state of eternal damnation. Emo Qingyun's second method was to send Huang Guan and the others into the Fortune Mainland and bring them out through the Fortune Mainland. Firstly, Emo Qingyun had never sent anything into the Fortune Mainland. Secondly, Emo Qingyun was worried that the terrifying aura would bombard the Fortune Mainland. Emo Qingyun struggled inwardly, but decided to give it a try in the end. What made Emo Qingyun rejoice was that after he had sent them to the Fortune Mainland, nothing out of the ordinary had happened. That terrifying aura did not appear either. In other words, the second method succeeded. The second method is feasible. Seeing that the terrifying aura didn't appear, Emo Qingyun's face lit up with joy and excitement. In other words, he could bring Huang Guan and the others out of the devil-suppressing abyss through the Fortune Mainland. At this moment, Emo Qingyun was not the only one who was excited. When Huang Guan and the others saw this, they were also extremely excited. Chapter 1052. Alright, since that's the case, I'll send you to the Fortune Mainland. Seeing that the second method was feasible, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and sent Huang Guan and the others to the Fortune Mainland. Several hours later, the entire Ghost Fetus clan was sent to the Fortune Mainland by Emo Qingyun. Subsequently, Emo Qingyun and Qin Yongjun stood up and left the devil-suppressing abyss. Emo Qingyun and Qin Yongjun were existences comparable to Venerable Realm experts. When they rushed at full speed, their speed was naturally faster than ordinary people. Half a month later, with Emo Qingyun and Emo Qingyun rushing at full speed, they arrived in front of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Their faces were filled with excitement. They were finally back. Let's go in. Looking at the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain in front of them, Emo Qingyun smiled at Qin Yongjun and walked into the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Qin Yongjun didn't think too much about it and followed Emo Qingyun into the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Returning to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain, Qin Yongjun was incomparably excited. After more than 80 years, she had finally returned to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Moreover, she had broken through to the Venerable Realm. This was also a kind of homecoming. While Qin Yongjun was feeling excited, Emo Qingyun's brows were tightly knitted together as he sensed that something was wrong. He discovered that the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain's entrance today was filled with an obscure, stifling aura that made people feel uncomfortable. Deacon Xiao, did something happen in the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain? Why are the disciples of the heavenly pool sacred mountain so depressed? Noticing the strange atmosphere in the heavenly pool sacred mountain, Mo Qingyun revealed a puzzled expression and asked the deacon who was leading the way. AI. Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, the young deacon sighed and replied with a heavy expression, replying to Senior Mo, "It's like this. 2 months ago, the sky soared sacred mountains, soared Venerable Li He's cultivation broke through to the late stage Venerable Realm, Li He has broken through to the late stage Supreme Being Realm?" Hearing this, Mo Qingyun's expression suddenly changed, and a strong sense of unease rose in his heart. If Li He's cultivation was still at the middle stage of the Supreme Being Realm, he would still be able to deal with him easily. However, now that Li He had broken through to the late stage of the Supreme Being Realm, it would be troublesome to deal with him. At this time, Deacon Xiao let out a deep breath and said with a helpless expression, "Not only that, but soared Venerable Li He's cultivation has broken through to the late stage of the Supremacy Realm." In order to take revenge on Tai Tu Supreme for opposing him all these years, he joined forces with Spear Venerable Yi Feiyang and Beast Venerable Yang Yunfan to launch a sneak attack on Tai Tu Supreme. As a result, Tai Tu Supreme was seriously injured and almost died in Tyrant Body Holy Mountain. Ironhead Autarch is injured. Hearing Deacon Zhao's words, Mo Qingyun immediately became nervous. His expression revealed a hint of worry. Of course, while Mo Qingyun was worried, he was also angry. Li He, Yang Yunfan, and Yi Feiyang, these 3 treacherous bastards, had not changed at all. They still liked to use such despicable means. It was the same when they dealt with Mo Qingyun previously, and now it was the same when they dealt with Tai Tu Supreme. They had not made any progress at all. After a brief moment of shock, Mo Qingyun showed a concerned look and asked Deacon Xiao, "Deacon Xiao, where is Tai Tu Supreme now? How are his injuries? How is the situation in Tyrant Body Holy Mountain?" Tai Tu Supreme is currently recuperating in Surpassing Supreme's residence. Deacon Xiao replied to Mo Qingyun's question and said with a guessing look, "As for the disciples of Tyrant Body Holy Mountain, it seems like they have been rescued by the seniors of Qin Yun Palace." Hearing Deacon Zhao's words, Mo Qingyun's heart finally relaxed, and his expression became much more relaxed. Then, Mo Qingyun took 2 steps at a time and walked quickly to Surpassing Supreme's residence. Soon, Mo Qingyun and Qin Yongjun arrived at Surpassing Supreme's residence. At this moment, Surpassing Supreme was sitting in a pavilion in a small courtyard, chatting with a bald man and checking on his injuries. This bald man was Tai Tu Supreme. Seeing Tai Tu Supreme's current state, Mo Qingyun relaxed again. It seemed like Tai Tu's injuries were no longer a problem. Eldest senior brother, senior uncle Tai Tu. Looking at Supreme Su Chao and Supreme Tai Tu, Qin Yongjun was pleasantly surprised. She quickly walked up to the 2 of them. Second junior brother, Yongjun. Seeing Qin Yongjun walking over quickly, Surpassing Supreme and Tai Tu Supreme were pleasantly surprised and stood up to greet her. However, while they were greeting Qin Yongjun, Surpassing Supreme's gaze landed on Mo Qingyun. "Mas." Surpassing Supreme quickly corrected himself when he recalled Mo Qingyun's instructions. He said, "Mr. Mo, thank you so much for lending a hand. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to find second junior brother." "It's nothing. Don't worry about it." Mo Qingyun waved his hand at Surpassing Supreme's gratitude. He went to the pavilion and sat down. Yongjun, your cultivation has reached the 9 heavens Supreme Realm?" Supreme Tai Tu frowned when the 4 of them sat down. He sensed that something was wrong with Qin Yongjun's aura. Surpassing Supreme also sensed Qin Yongjun's aura when he heard Supreme Tai Tu's words. His face was filled with joy. Qin Yongjun's cultivation had really reached the 9 heavens Supreme Realm. As a result, they now had 3 9 heavens Supremes on their side. They were strong enough to take on Li He and the others. Of course, the most important thing was the help of the Azure Cloud Palace. Ever since he had rescued Supreme Being Tai Tu previously, it was only then that Supreme Being Su Chao truly realized how frightening the strength of the Green Cloud Palace was. Now, Azure Cloud Palace actually had 3 Supremes, several Demi-Exalts, dozens of Demi-Exalts, and tens of Demi-Exalts, as well as tens of thousands of Demi-Exalts with divine power. Qin Yongjun showed gratitude when Sovereign Tai Tu asked about her cultivation. She turned to Mo Qingyun and said, "It's all thanks to Senior Mo's guidance that I was able to break through to the Sovereign Realm. If it weren't for Senior Mo's guidance, I wouldn't have been able to comprehend the laws of fire so quickly." Senior Mo's guidance? Supreme Tai Tu was shocked when he heard Qin Yongjun's words. He looked at Mo Qingyun curiously. He couldn't believe that Qin Yongjun had been able to comprehend the laws of fire because of the guidance of someone in the 9th level of the divine power realm. Could it be that Mo Qingyun had grasped the power of laws with his 9th level transcendent art cultivation? Qin Yongjun smiled faintly when she saw how Supreme Tai Tu reacted. She explained, "Senior Uncle Tai Tu, although Senior Mo is in the 9th level of the divine power realm, his comprehension of the laws of fire has reached a level that I can only look up to. He has already comprehended a characteristic of the laws of fire to perfection." "What? How is that possible?" Supreme Tai Tu was shocked when he heard that. He was quite shocked by Qin Yongjun's words. Chapter 1053. In contrast to Supremacy Ironhead's surprise, Supremacy Sun Chao remained calm. He knew Mo Qingyun's true identity. With Mo Qingyun's comprehension of the laws of fire in his past life, it wasn't strange that he'd be able to do the same in this life. Mr. Mo, Senior Uncle Ironhead's miniature world, was damaged in his clash with Li He and the others. Do you have a way to repair it? Thinking about Ironhead's injuries, Supremacy Su Chao revealed a nervous look. He hurriedly asked Mo Qingyun about it. The miniature world was damaged? Mo Qingyun frowned slightly as a troubled expression appeared on his face. He raised his hand to rub his forehead and said in a deep voice, "If we want to repair the Treasure Elephant's minor world, we must find 5-colored heaven-mending crystals and refine them into 5-colored heaven-mending pills. However, 5-colored heaven-mending crystals have only appeared in the Heaven's Spirit Tomb. This is quite a problem." The Sky Spirit Tomb? When they heard Mo Qingyun's explanation, the expressions of Supremacy Su Chao and the others became stern. They were all vexed. The Sky Spirit Tomb was known as the most dangerous place on the Tianhun continent. Even autarchs had a 50% chance of dying in there. It was far more dangerous than the Demon Suppression Abyss. It would be very difficult for Ironhead to recover from his injuries. Ironhead was disappointed when he learned how difficult it would be to heal his injuries. He shook his head with a wry smile. "Mr. Mo, the Sky Spirit Tomb is fraught with danger. We can't put everyone in danger because of me. I think we should just let my injuries be." In Ironhead's opinion, the Celestial Pool Sacred Mountain and Tyrant Body Sacred Mountain were currently under threat from the 3 Celestial Mountains. He couldn't allow anyone to die because of the Sky Spirit Tomb. That would give Li He and the others an opportunity to take advantage of. Sunrise Sovereign and Sunrise Sovereign fell silent when they heard Ironhead's words. They didn't know how to comfort him. Mo Qingyun and the others didn't say anything. The atmosphere grew heavy. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun and the others were silent, a green figure arrived at Supreme Exalt Su Chao's residence with light footsteps. When the green figure arrived, he revealed an excited expression. He said to Exalt Su Chao, who was in the courtyard in pleasant surprise, "Eldest senior brother, I've heard that Master has rescued second senior brother." The green figure was none other than Mo Qingyun's disciple, Qiu Yi. "Master?" Ironhead and Qin Yongjun were stunned when they heard Qiu Ye's words. They didn't understand what he meant. However, they quickly guessed something and turned to look at Emo Chinhyun. The person who saved Chin Yongjun was Emo Chinhyun, but Chiu Yi said that it was her master who saved her. Chiu Yi only had one master, and that was Gucci was Emo Chinhyun Gucci. However, Emo Chinhyun and Gucci were clearly not the same person. Could it be that there was some secret behind this? At that moment, Exalted Tai Tu and Chin Yongjun were both confused. Curiosity filled their faces. Seeing this scene, Chiu Yi stuck out her tongue and made a naughty expression. She quickly covered her mouth. He was in trouble. He had revealed Emo Chinhyun's identity. Sunrise Sovereign smiled wryly when Chiu Yi revealed Emo Chinhyun's identity. He had no idea how to smooth things over. The atmosphere in the residence became even more awkward than before. Everyone, don't be surprised. Now listen to me slowly. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Emo Chinhyun smiled faintly and said, "Originally, I was going to let Su Chao tell you. Since Little Year has said it now, I'll just tell the two of you directly. Actually, mine is the Gucci." Was Emo Chinhyun really Gucci? Ironhead and Chin Yongjun were dumbfounded when they heard Emo Chinhyun's words. They felt like their brains were not enough to process it. This joke had gone a little too far. Emo Chinhyun wasn't surprised by Sovereign Tai Tu and Chin Yongjun's reaction, and he said calmly, "Baldy, I remember we encountered that person who was possessed by a body devil in the Heaven Spirit Tomb all those years ago. That fellow said he would replace you in the Tyrant's Sacred Mountain and become the new sovereign of the Tianhun continent. Yongjun, when I brought you back from the Sea of Arms sect, you were only this tall. In the blink of an eye, you've already entered the exalted realm." Following that, Emo Chinhyun recounted some of his and Chin Yongjun's stories one by one. As Emo Chinhyun continued to explain, Supreme Tai Tu and Chin Yongjun became more and more excited. Only they and Gucci knew about these things, but Emo Chinhyun knew everything. Didn't that mean? Emo Chinhyun really was Gucci. Are you really my master? Shit, you're that brat. After confirming Emo Chinhyun's identity, Tai Tu and Chin Yongjun's faces lit up with joy and excitement. I'm so stupid. I thought you were a senior who knew you well." After saying these words of excitement, Chin Yongjun suddenly had a look of realization. She patted her head and said, "If you weren't my master, why would you go to the demon suppression abyss to save me? If you weren't my master, why would someone share their experience of comprehending the laws with me? I should have thought of this long ago. It doesn't matter, as long as everyone is safe and sound." Supreme Su Chao smiled when he saw Chin Yongjun's reaction. He was overjoyed. "The elders recently told me that they have found the whereabouts of junior brother Chiopeng, junior brother Linhu, and junior brother Wang Gang. I believe they will return to Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain soon." "That's great." Emo Chinhyun and the others were overjoyed to hear Supreme Su Chao's words. While everyone was happy, there was also a hint of a sigh in their eyes. Although these disciples were going to return, there was a trace of a sigh in their eyes. Although the disciples were going to be back soon, the disciples who had died would never return. When they thought of this, Emo Chinhyun and the others revealed a trace of hatred and anger on their faces. It was all because of the Sky Sword, Sky Spear, and Beast Tamer mountains. If it weren't for their actions, the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain and Tyrant Physique Sacred Mountain wouldn't have ended up like this. "Ironhead, you piece of trash, get out here!" While Emo Chinhyun and the others were lamenting, a furious voice came from outside the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Thump thump thump. When the voice rang out, Emo Chinhyun's eyes suddenly twitched violently. A powerful bloodline reaction appeared in his body. This was something that would only happen when Emo Chinhyun sensed other parts of the Heavenly Soul Demon's body. Could it be that the person who provoked Supreme Ironhead outside the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain had refined other parts of the Heavenly Soul Demon's body? Emo Chinhyun became excited when he thought of this. He couldn't contain his joy. Chapter 1054. A moment later, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived at the entrance of the heavenly pool Sacred Mountain. They raised their heads and looked at the person hovering in the air. It was a well-built man wearing a short-sleeved training shirt. His exposed muscles seemed to contain terrifying strength. Apart from that, the man hovered in the air with a ball of faint lightning revolving around his body. It was a terrifying sight to behold. "It's him!" Mo Qingyun and Tai Tu were surprised when they saw the person standing in midair. They were surprised by the identity of the person in midair. The man was none other than the man who had been possessed by the body demon in the past. He was the man who had threatened to replace Tai Tu. Mo Qingyun's gaze sharpened when he learned the man's identity. He sighed inwardly. I didn't expect Song Jian to wake up after being possessed by the body demon. Moreover, it seems like he has successfully refined the Tianhun demonic body. After learning that Song Jian had refined the Tianhun demonic body, Mo Qingyun made a decision in his heart. He had to obtain the bloodline in Song Jian's body no matter what. "Humph! You've disappeared for so many years. I thought you were dead." Tai Tu sneered as he looked at Song Jian. He said, "Song Jian, I might be severely injured, but it won't be difficult for me to defeat you." Tai Tu, cut the crap. Come out and fight me. Song Jian ignored Tai Tu's mockery and continued to provoke Tai Tu. Tai Tu no longer hesitated. He took a step forward as though he was prepared to fight Song Jian. "Senior Uncle Tai Tu, your little elephant world is damaged. You mustn't fight with others." Su Chao was anxious when he saw Tai Tu's actions. He quickly pulled Tai Tu back and tried to persuade him. Based on Song Jian's aura, he was at least a mid-stage supreme being. He was no weaker than Tai Tu, who was at his peak. Now that Tai Tu's little elephant world was damaged, his origin energy was greatly restricted. He was no match for Song Jian. "Baldy, Su Chao is right. You can't fight with Song Jian right now." Mo Qingyun had a stern look on his face when he heard Supremacy, Su Chao's words. Then, he turned to Song Jian and said, "Supremacy Tai Tu is now a guest of the Sky Pool Sacred Mountain. If you want to fight him, you'll have to get through me first." As Mo Qingyun's words rang out, his figure moved, before he arrived in the air and faced off against Song Jian. Supreme Tai Tu immediately became nervous when he saw Mo Qingyun's actions. He said to Supreme Su Chao beside him, "Su Chao, Gucci is only at the 9th level of the divine ability. He's definitely not Song Jian's opponent. Go help him." "Senior Uncle Tai Tu, don't worry." Qin Yongjun smiled faintly when she heard Supreme Tai Tu's words. She wasn't worried about Mo Qingyun at all. Back in the demon suppression abyss, Master fought against a mid-stage supreme being and defeated his opponent with ease. Master is definitely strong enough to fight Song Jian. Supreme Tai Tu wasn't the only one who was shocked by Qin Yongjun's words. Supreme Su Chao was shocked as well. Mo Qingyun's battle prowess was very strong. This was something Supreme Zancho knew. However, his strength had still greatly exceeded his expectations. When Song Jian, who was hovering in midair, saw that Mo Qingyun wanted to fight him, he revealed a disdainful expression and said, "Humph, you're just a junior at the 9th level of the divine ability. How dare you challenge me? Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish and use you as a warm-up." Sky Velvet Silver Lightning Manual, Spear of Silver Lightning. Song Jian spread his arms and lifted them up. A ball of lightning as bright as the sun shot out, turning into a silver spear that was dozens of meters long. As soon as the spear was formed, it turned into a ray of silver light and arrived in front of Mo Qingyun in a flash. As the spear approached, Mo Qingyun immediately felt like he was being struck by lightning. His entire body felt numb, and he couldn't circulate his energy smoothly. However, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly took out his blazing halberd and swung it at the silver spear. Sky-breaking blazing halberd. The blazing halberd slashed out with Mo Qingyun's blazing halberd, releasing a terrifying wave of heat. As soon as the blazing halberd appeared, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed the spear in a single gulp. Following that, the lightning energy that corroded Mo Qingyun's body disappeared, and the energy in his body became much smoother. The law of fire is close to perfection. I didn't expect your comprehension of the law of fire to reach such a shocking level. I've underestimated you. Seeing Mo Qingyun's move, Song Jian was shocked. He was shocked by Mo Qingyun's move. It was his first time seeing someone at the 9th level of the divine ability comprehend the law of fire. The sealed door. While Song Jian was shocked, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate at all. He immediately used his martial soul mystique. A mini version of the light door condensed and shot towards Song Jian. In the blink of an eye, it entered Song Jian's body. After being hit by the sealed door, Song Jian's expression changed drastically. He was shocked by the situation in his body. His cultivation level was actually weakening, and the circulation of essence energy was greatly restricted. However, before Song Jian could recover from his shock, Mo Qingyun was already rushing towards him with the blazing halberd in his hand. Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger. Inaction Heaven Concealing Finger. Middle Point Killing Finger. Upper Devouring Spirit Finger. As Mo Qingyun rushed towards Song Jian, he held the blazing halberd in his right hand and attacked Song Jian several times with his left hand. Suddenly, 3 imposing finger lights shot out from Mo Qingyun's left hand and shot towards Song Jian. Looking at the 3 finger lights and Mo Qingyun, who had turned into a ball of fire, Song Jian couldn't help but panic. The aura that Mo Qingyun exuded at this moment had already made Song Jian's heart palpitate. He couldn't help but feel afraid. Mo Qingyun wasn't easy to deal with. His true strength might be above Song Jian's. However, Song Jian was a mid-stage supreme being after all. After a short moment of panic, he regained his composure and used all his strength to block Mo Qingyun's attack. The heavenly soul demonic body was invincible, Song Jian shouted coldly. He immediately activated the heavenly soul demonic bloodline in his body and activated his heavenly soul demonic body to block Mo Qingyun's attack. As Song Jian activated his heavenly soul demonic body, he also threw out several punches in an attempt to destroy the finger lights that were attacking him. However, what shocked Song Jian was that the finger lights that Mo Qingyun shot out weren't as simple as they looked. Apart from the finger light that reached Mo Qingyun's pinky finger, which could be blocked directly, the other 3 finger lights couldn't be blocked in a normal way. Bang bang bang, then, Song Jian was hit by 3 finger lights in succession, and his body was blasted away. Puff! After being hit by Mo Qingyun's all-out attack, Song Jian immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and revealed a terrified expression. He exclaimed, "So powerful! He's not someone I can deal with." Chapter 1055. Following Song Jian's words, 3 terrifying auras burst out from the east, west, and south. Following this, 3 familiar figures appeared in Mo Qingyun's vision. They were none other than Sword Highness Li He, Spear Highness Yi Feiyang, and Beast Highness Yang Yunfan. In the east, as soon as Li He and the others appeared, he immediately swiped his finger in the air at Mo Qingyun, unleashing a jade blue yuan power with a shocking aura of the law of water. Clang! The yuan power with the law of water burst out from Li He's hand and turned into a giant icy sword that slashed at Mo Qingyun. As soon as Li He made his move, Yi Feiyang did not hesitate either. He swung the sword in his hand and stabbed at Mo Qingyun. He thrust his spear forward. The spear immediately emitted a golden glow as it unleashed yuan power with the law of metal. After that, this origin energy transformed into a golden origin energy spear, and it tore through the sky and pierced towards Mo Qingyun with an unstoppable momentum. In the south, roar. A deafening roar of a beast could be heard. The ground of the heavenly pool sacred mountain began to tremble. Following the deafening blast, a giant figure of a beast with the law of earth opened its mouth wide and sprang at Mo Qingyun. The three terrifying attacks were aimed at Mo Qingyun from three different directions. They immediately blocked off Mo Qingyun's escape route. Seeing this scene, Paragon Su Chao and the others on the heavenly pool sacred mountain immediately revealed worried and anxious expressions. They never thought Li He, Yang Yunfan, and Yi Feiyang would be hiding nearby to deal a fatal blow to them. Li He, Yi Feiyang, Yang Yunfan. They were hiding nearby. Crap, even though Master is strong, he might not be able to stop their attacks. Let's make our move and lend Master a hand. Supreme Exalt Su Chao and the others stopped hesitating when they saw Li He and the others attack Mo Qingyun. They immediately flew out from the heavenly pool sacred mountain with the intention of lending Mo Qingyun a hand. All of you back down. Mo Qingyun's expression shifted when he saw what Supreme Su Chao and the others were doing. He quickly yelled at them, Li He and the others have already achieved the late stage of the 9 heavens, Supreme Realm. You will only die if you come out. Return to the heavenly pool sacred mountain at once. From the way Li He and the other two attacked, Mo Qingyun could clearly sense that Li He and the other two had fused the characteristics of the power of laws. An existence of that level was definitely not someone that Supremacy Su Chao and the others could handle. If they were to join the fray, they would only cause unnecessary casualties. At this moment, Mo Qingyun finally understood why Li He and the other two had suddenly attacked the heavenly pool sacred mountain and the overlord holy mountain after enduring for so many years. As it turned out, the three of them had already broken through to the late stage of the utmost exalted realm, giving them the strength to destroy the heavenly pool sacred mountain and the tyrant sage mountain. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Supremacy Su Chao and the others were horrified. They were quite shocked by Mo Qingyun's words. It was definitely not good news for them. Li He, who was in the late stage of the utmost exalted realm, had already given them enough trouble. Now that Yang Yunfan and Yi Feiyang had joined the fray, it was definitely not good news. How is this possible? How did Li He and the others manage to achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation? Supreme Tai Tu was utterly confused when he saw Li He and the others achieving a breakthrough in their cultivation. He was unable to accept the situation. He could still accept and understand why Li He had achieved a breakthrough in his cultivation alone. After all, Li He had been in the mid-stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm for many years. He was only a step away from achieving the late stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm. However, Yang Yunfan and Yi Feiyang's cultivation was significantly weaker than Li He's. It was even weaker than Supreme Tai Tu's cultivation. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for them to achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation without at least a few hundred or 1,000 years of accumulation. However, the two of them had managed to achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation all of a sudden. It was simply too abnormal. Supreme Tai Tu and the others no longer hesitated after learning about Li He and the others' cultivation. They quickly retreated into the sacred heavenly pool mountain. Even though they could not bear to see Mo Qingyun being attacked from both sides, they knew there was nothing they could do at a time like this. Supreme Su Chao and the others blamed themselves when they saw Mo Qingyun being surrounded by Li He and the others while they could only watch helplessly. Why were they so weak? Why couldn't they help Mo Qingyun? As soon as the thought crossed their minds, Supreme Tai Tu and the others made up their minds to raise their cultivation as soon as possible. The sacred heavenly pool mountain had a defensive formation reinforced by Mo Qingyun. Even a peak 9 heavens supremacy might not be able to break through it easily. When Supreme Tai Tu and the others returned to the sacred heavenly pool mountain, Li He and the others ignored them and focused on dealing with Mo Qingyun, who was still outside. This was also the reason why Li He and the others were unable to destroy the sacred Heavenly Pool Mountain, even though they were extremely powerful. Stay in the sacred Heavenly Pool Mountain and don't come out. I'll go after Song Jian. After blocking the attacks of Li He and the others, Mo Qingyun said to Supreme Tai Tu and the others. Then, he suddenly sped up, leaving behind afterimages. Soon, Mo Qingyun's figure disappeared from everyone's sight as he chased after Song Jian. He was so fast. Li He and the others were shocked when they saw Mo Qingyun's figure disappearing in a flash. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's strength. Then, all three of their faces darkened. The killer's intent from their bodies intensified. They did not expect a lad with a cultivation of level 9 divine power to be so powerful. They could not allow him to grow. He is indeed capable. No wonder he was able to kill a half Supremacy from the Sky Spear Sacred Mountain when he was only at level 1 divine power. Humph! Lad, you killed a disciple of the Imperial Beast Sacred Mountain. Today I'll make you pay with your blood. Mo Qingyun, I don't know what tricks you used to trick Iron Wing into betraying the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, but you must pay for it today. When they recalled Mo Qingyun's actions against the 3 divine mountains in the past, Li He and the other 2 divine mountains were furious. Then, Li He and the others turned into 3 streaks of light and chased after Mo Qingyun. Not long after, Mo Qingyun's group of 5 vanished from the sight of Supreme Su Chao and the others. Eldest senior brother, what should we do now? Seeing Mo Qingyun and the others disappear, Qin Yongjun revealed an inquiring expression, asking for Supreme Su Chao's opinion. Supremacy Su Chao frowned slightly when he heard Qin Yongjun's words. After a moment of thought, he said, Li He, Yi Feiyang, and Yang Yunfan have gone to hunt down Master. There's no one guarding the 3 sacred mountains right now. We'll take drastic measures to deal with them. We'll set their backyard on fire. That's a good idea. Alright, let's do it right away. Qin Yongjun and the others were overjoyed when they heard Supreme Tai Tu's words. It was definitely a feasible plan. Chapter 1056. Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes were extremely fast. It only took them 2 hours to arrive at the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain from the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. When they arrived at the entrance of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, Tai Tu and the other Supremes did not hesitate. They immediately attacked the defensive formation of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. Bang bang bang! Under the attacks of Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes, the defensive formation of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain shook violently and let out loud bangs. Boom! The defensive formation resisted for a moment before it finally exploded under the attacks of Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes. Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes broke the defensive formation with brute force. A terrifying yuan energy burst out and shrouded the entire Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. Under the impact of the terrifying yuan energy storm, half of the buildings in the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain were razed to the ground in just a moment. It was a complete mess. Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes smiled knowingly when they saw this. A sense of relief rose in their hearts. Li He and the other 2 Supremes had been suppressing the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain and the Tyrant Sacred Mountain. Today they could finally vent their frustrations. After destroying the defensive formation of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes charged into the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain without any hesitation. Upon entering the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes went all out to kill the disciples and elders of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Faced with the attacks of Tai Tu and the other 2 Supremes, the disciples of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They were killed one after another. In just a few breaths' time, tens of thousands of disciples of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain were killed. Only some of the elders with advanced cultivation were barely able to survive. However, The attacks of Tai Tu and the other two Supremes alarmed the experts in the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. Soon, a few dozen figures appeared in front of Tai Tu and the other two Supremes. The auras of these people were all above the half-Supremes level. The three people at the front, in particular, were all emitting the auras of mid-Supremes. 3 mid-stage Supreme being experts. Tai Tu and the other two Supremes were shocked when they learned the cultivation of the 3 people in front of them. They had never expected that there would be 3 middle-stage Supreme Being experts hiding in the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. It didn't take long for them to realize that these 3 weren't from the Tianhun continent. These 3 people look very different from the people of the Tianhun continent. They're definitely not from the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. However, they are not from the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. Why would they be hiding in the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain? In my opinion, the appearance of these 3 people might be related to Li He and the other two's breakthroughs. That's right, it's very possible. The strength of these 3 people is extremely strong. They are not people we can deal with. If that's the case, let's return to Sky Pool Sacred Mountain first. After all, we have killed enough in Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. Supreme Tai Tu and the others discussed in silence for a while before they made up their minds. They turned into 3 rays of light and flew into the distance. 3 honorable demon sovereigns. They are the Supremes from the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain and the Tyrant Body Sacred Mountain. Please kill them. One of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain's pseudo-venerate powerhouses asked the 3 people in front of him for instructions when they saw Ironhead and the other 2 fleeing. Sky Sword Sacred Mountain? Tyrant Body Sacred Mountain? Are they the ones who tried to stop us from invading? If that's the case, those 3 can't be left alive. Let's kill them together. The 3 demon sovereigns' faces darkened when they learned who Tai Tu and the others were. Their figures flashed as they chased after Tai Tu and the others. The 3 demon sovereigns were extremely fast. It only took them 15 minutes to catch up to Tai Tu and the others. Oh no, they're catching up. Tai Tu and the others were shocked when they saw the 3 demon sovereigns chasing after them. They hurried back to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain as quickly as they could. As long as they returned to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain, they would be safe under the protection of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain's formations. Moreover, now wasn't the time to fight the demon sovereigns. They could wait until Mo Qingyun returned to make a decision. However, even though Tai Tu and the others had good intentions, the reality was cruel. Before they could fly far, their path was blocked by the 3 demon sovereigns. Tai Tu and the others' expressions turned grim when they saw that their path was blocked. They were in trouble now. Sky Demon Curse, Evil Spirit Curse Seal. Sky Demon Curse, Ghost Whisper Soul. Sky Demon Curse, Evil Spirit Shadow. The 3 demon sovereigns blocked Tai Tu and the others' path. They attacked without hesitation and used their strongest attacks. Several black skulls appeared in the sky and flew at Tai Tu and his crew. As the skulls attacked, the ear-piercing screams of evil spirits entered the ears of Ironhead Supremacy and the others. As for the last demon Supremacy, his figure flashed and turned into 49 afterimages. He surrounded the 3 Supremacies and attacked them from all sides. Under the attacks of the 3 demon sovereigns, Tai Tu and the other 2 demon sovereigns were beaten up. On top of that, their vitality was being suppressed and corroded. Their skin was aging, and their ability to circulate their yuan force was greatly restricted. This is the law of Yin's aging and cursing properties. Tai Tu and the other 2 demon sovereigns were startled when they saw their situation. Their hearts sank. At this rate, the 3 of them might die here. After a brief moment of panic, a determined expression appeared on Tai Tu's face. He made a decisive decision in his heart. He thought to himself, the 3 of them are far stronger than us. We are definitely no match for them. Rather than the 3 of us dying here, I might as well sacrifice myself and take a risk. The Primordial War Divine Mountain. After making up his mind, Tai-Tu no longer hesitated. He immediately activated his little world. A mountain emitting a brilliant glow appeared above Tai-Tu and his crew with a terrifying aura. Su Chao, Lord Yong, run! Tai-Tu no longer hesitated after activating his little world. He immediately warned Su Chao and Lord Yong. Then, Ironhead sent his precious elephant's small world toward the three demon race powerhouses. Tai-Tu smiled brightly when he threw his little world at the three demon sovereigns. He laughed loudly and said, "If you want to kill the three of us, the three of you will have to pay a terrible price." Bang! As Supreme Tai-Tu was speaking, a loud explosion entered the crowd's ears. Following that, Tai-Tu Supreme's little world exploded in midair, unleashing a destructive might. Martial Uncle Tai-Tu. Supreme Su Chao and Lord Yong were shocked when they saw Tai-Tu's actions. Their faces were filled with grief and indignation. In order to save the two of them, Autarch Tai-Tu had actually self-detonated his precious elephant small world, cutting off his future path of cultivation. After a brief moment of grief, Supreme Su Chao and Lord Yong did not hesitate. They immediately grabbed Tai-Tu and fled. A moment later, the explosion in the small world of the precious elephant dissipated, and the figures of the three demon clan experts who were enveloped by the explosion slowly appeared. I didn't expect that guy to self-destruct his little world. That's unexpected. That guy self-destructed his little world. The three of them can't have gotten far. That's right. If the three of us go after them, we'll definitely catch up to them. The three demon sovereigns discussed among themselves. They no longer hesitated and chased after Tai-Tu and the others. Around 45 minutes later, the three demon sovereigns caught up to them again. They kept closing the distance between them and Tai-Tu and the others. You can't escape. The three demon supremes chuckled sinisterly when they saw Tai-Tu and the other two supremes. We've caught up to them. Supreme Su Chao and the others were stunned when they heard the sinister laughter behind them. A strong sense of worry rose in their hearts. Fortunately, they could already see the heavenly pool mountain. They were less than 100 li away from it. 80 li. 60 li. 10 li. A streak of light blossomed outside the heavenly pool mountain. It turned into a 7-colored barrier of light that enveloped Tai-Tu. The three demon sovereigns relaxed when they saw the three of them return to the heavenly pool mountain. They were finally back. They were so close to killing Sovereign Tai-Tu and the other two, but in the end they let them escape. The three demon supremes were infuriated. They knew full well that the heavenly pool mountain was protected by a powerful protective formation. It wasn't something they could break through. They've gotten away this time, but they won't be able to live for much longer. Once the Sovereign Lord breaks through the spatial rift and arrives on the Tianhun continent, the Tianhun continent will become our vassal. Since they've escaped, let's go back. The three Supremes glanced at the heavenly pool sacred mountain unwillingly, then turned around and left. I didn't think Sky Sword Mountain would have such a powerhouse. Let's not talk about that for now. Uncle Master Tai-Tu's injuries are serious. Let's take him back to rest. Seeing Tai-Tu's injuries, Sovereign Su Chao didn't dare hesitate. He hurriedly helped Tai-Tu back to his residence. Mo Qingyun had chased after Song Jian ever since leaving the heavenly pool mountain. He'd only caught up after chasing him for over 10,000 kilometers. You won't escape, Song Jian. Mo Qingyun's expression was cold as he stared at Song Jian. His words were resolute. Demonic vanishing shadow, spatial contraction. With every flicker of Mo Qingyun's figure, he drew closer to Song Jian. Soon, the distance between him and Song Jian was less than 100 miles. But then a giant ruin appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and Tai-Tu. Mo Qingyun's expression changed when he saw the ruins in front of him. His heart sank. The Sky Spirit Tomb. Song Jian had brought him to the Sky Spirit Tomb. Song Jian sneered at the sight of the tomb. brat, the sky spirit tomb is filled with danger. If you have the guts, you can give it a try." As Song Jian's words fell, his figure moved as he charged into the heaven spirit tomb. "He's entered the sky spirit tomb?" Seeing Song Jian enter the heaven spirit tomb, Mo Qingyun's expression couldn't help but change as shock appeared on his face. "Since we're here, I might as well go look for the 5-colored Skyman stone." However, Mo Qingyun only hesitated for a moment before following in. I said I'd kill you. It's useless even if you run to the ends of the earth." Chapter 1057. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Not long after Mo Qingyun entered the sky spirit tomb, 3 streaks of light streaked across the horizon and stopped in front of the tomb. These 3 streaks of light were naturally Li He and the other 2 who were chasing after them. Looking at the sky spirit tomb before them, Li He's trio knitted their brows and hesitated on whether or not they should continue the chase. Song Jian and Mo Qingyun have both entered the sky spirit tomb. What should we do now? Yi Feiyang had a grave expression as he turned his head to look at Li He and Yang Yunfan, asking for their opinion. The sky spirit tomb is filled with danger. If we rashly enter, there might be unpredictable consequences. We need to carefully consider this matter. Li He looked at the heaven spirit tomb in front of him and thought back to his past experiences. He spoke with lingering fear. "Are we just going to let Mo Qingyun go like this?" After hearing Li He's thoughts, Yang Yunfan felt a little dissatisfied, but he didn't mind it and said, "Back then, when we had just broken through to the sovereign realm, we entered the sky spirit tomb together. Didn't we also come out unscathed? Now that our cultivation has greatly increased, and we're not going in to search for treasures, can't we protect ourselves?" "That's true." Yi Feiyang nodded in agreement with Yang Yunfan's words. Seeing Yi Feiyang's agreement, Yang Yunfan raised his hand and summoned a demonic beast. "Now that my beast-taming ability has greatly increased, I can control over 100 demonic beasts. When the time comes, I can sacrifice a demonic beast to pave the way. This way, our safety will be guaranteed." Hearing Yang Yunfan's words, Li He and Yi Feiyang both nodded, feeling that Yang Yunfan's words made sense. Li He and Yi Feiyang looked at each other and came to a unanimous decision. Li He said to Yang Yunfan, "Since it's like this, we'll enter the heaven's spirit tomb to explore. If we encounter any danger, we'll leave the tomb first and guard the entrance." "Okay." Li He's trio nodded and their figures flashed as they entered the sky spirit tomb. Inside the sky spirit tomb, Mo Qingyun entered the sky spirit tomb and released his soul force to search for Song Jian's traces. However, Song Jian was extremely familiar with the heavens spirit tomb. Not long after he entered, his figure disappeared. With regards to Song Jian's disappearance, Mo Qingyun was not worried as he silently thought to himself, "Song Jian has refined the heavenly soul devil body and his body contains the bloodline of the heavenly soul devil clan. There is a bloodline connection between the two of us. As long as I approach him, I will be able to sense his existence. Therefore, in the following time, I only need to search the heaven spirit tomb." After Mo Qingyun thought of this, he no longer hesitated and began to search the heaven spirit tomb. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after Mo Qingyun searched, a figure over 100 zhang tall appeared in front of him. It was a body without hands, feet, or a head. This body had eyes, a nose, and a mouth on its chest. Tentacles condensed from elemental energy danced around its body, each holding a strange-looking weapon. No matter how one looked at it, it felt like SpongeBob SquarePants was holding a weapon. Body Demon. An early Supreme Being body demon. Looking at the enormous figure in front of him, Mo Qingyun's expression suddenly changed as shock appeared on his face. "I never imagined that after so many years, the Heaven's Spirit Tomb's body demons would still exist. Moreover, these body demons are even stronger than before." At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was still in shock, the body demon waved the weapon in its hand and crazily swept, hacked, and slashed at Mo Qingyun. Heavenly Flames' sky-breaking halberd. Facing the body demon's attack, Mo Qingyun did not dare to be careless and immediately took out the blazing halberd to block. With a sweep of the halberd, the blazing halberd instantly lit up with flames and a huge flame dragon appeared, using its body to block the body demon's attack. When the flame dragon blocked the body demon's attack, Mo Qingyun controlled the power of the law of fire and engulfed the body demon. Roar, roar, roar! As its body was enveloped by the law of fire, the body demon immediately let out a blood-curdling screech as its body continuously twisted and rolled within the flames. Mo Qingyun didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for the body demon's behavior. Instead, he urged the power of the law of fire to become even stronger. "Refine for me!" Mo Qingyun coldly shouted as he controlled the law of fire to refine the body demon's bloodline bit by bit. This body demon was a supreme being and contained the bloodline power of the Heavenly Soul Demon clan. It was much stronger than the eye demon and the leg demon. After all, this body demon had the cultivation of a supreme being and possessed the ability to evolve its bloodline. It could evolve its bloodline closer to the bloodline of the Heavenly Soul Demon clan. A moment later, the flames dissipated and a ball of purple blood appeared, emitting an astonishing aura. I didn't expect the bloodline power of this supreme being to be able to resist the bloodline power of the eye demon origin. Looking at the purple bloodline in front of him, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. He quickly raised his hand and put it away. He thought to himself, with the bloodline power contained in this body devil, if I continue to hunt it down and refine the bloodline power contained in its body, my Tianhun demonic body will definitely become perfect bit by bit. With this thought in mind, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately began to refine the blood from the body demon. Under Mo Qingyun's refinement, the purple blood turned into streaks of red and was slowly absorbed into his body. This ball of purple blood had already been refined by the law of fire. The energy contained within it was extremely pure and easy for Mo Qingyun to refine it. As the purple blood was refined by Mo Qingyun bit by bit, the demonic aura emitted from his body became more and more intense. Balls of purple demonic aura slowly condensed in Mo Qingyun's body and finally turned into a demonic seal that entered his chest. When the demonic seal entered Mo Qingyun's chest, Mo Qingyun's physique was clearly strengthened and emitted a strong oppressive force. Under this oppressive force, the surrounding rocks and vegetation were instantly blasted apart. At this moment, Mo Qingyun, who was in the midst of cultivation, opened his eyes in surprise. What a powerful bloodline power! After refining the ball of purple blood, Mo Qingyun stood up excitedly and felt the improvement in his physique. He was pleasantly surprised and said, "Before I refined the purple blood, my physique was roughly equivalent to a top-tier artifact. Now, my physique is comparable to a low-tier artifact. This progress is really amazing. If this continues, I believe that it won't be long before my physique reaches the level of a spiritual artifact." Thinking about his physique reaching the level of a spiritual artifact, Mo Qingyun's expression became even more excited and a sense of impatience rose in his heart. Soon after, Mo Qingyun didn't stay any longer and continued to search the heavens' spirit tomb. Next, he searched for the hiding Song Jian and the body demon in the heavens' spirit tomb. At the same time, he also wanted to see if he could find the 5-colored Heaven Restoration Stone. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.